Aloha, will the Agriculture, Diversification, Environment, and Public Transportation Committee meeting of February 20th, 2025. Please come to order. The time is now 9:03 a.m. Members, in accordance with the Sunshine Law, if you're not in the council chamber, please identify by name who, if anyone, is in the room, vehicle, or workspace with you today. Minors do not need to be identified. Also, please see the last page of agenda for information on meeting connectivity. Remember to silence all cell phones. Good afternoon, everyone, and I look forward to chairing a productive meeting. I'm Gabe Johnson, your committee chair, and there's no testifiers at the Lanai District Office. Also, okay, and then committee member Noelani Uhu Hodges. Aloha, council member.
Aloha, Chair.
Our non-voting committee members are always welcome, and today I noticed on the call was council member Kiani Rollins Fernandez. Aloha, council member.
Aloha kakahiaka, Chair. My Molokai nui ahina. I'm at my private residence, alone here. There are currently no testifiers at the Molokai District Office. And since I'm a non-voting member and you don't need me for quorum, I'll be kind of in and out of this meeting. Mahalo, Chair.
All right, thank you for that. And of course, Councilmember Tashikama is always welcome as a non-voting committee member. Moving on to the Administration, Department of Agriculture Director Kali Arce is here. Deputy Director Koa Heva Heva. Joining us from the Department of Environmental Management is Deputy Director Robert Schmidt, Cecil Power, Recycling Manager. From the Department of Water Supply, we have Eva Blumenstein, Planning Program Administrator. Robert De Robles, Planner 6, Department of Transportation. We have Deputy Director Diane Yogi, Neil Nakamoto, Transportation Program Specialist. From the Maui Metropolitan Planning Organization, we have the Executive Director Kaunoa Batangan. And from Corporation Counsel, Andrew Nelson, Deputy Corporation Counsel. From the committee staff, we have Ellen McKinley, Legislative Analyst, Jared Pasquale, Legislative Analyst, Megan Moniz, Legislative Attorney, Griselda Paranata, Committee Secretary. And for the agenda today, members, we have a big one, but we have an all-day meeting. Oral testimony via phone or video conference will be accepted in addition to in-person testimony. Individuals wishing to testify in person may sign up with a staff member at the entrance of the chamber. For those joining the meeting via Microsoft Teams, those wishing to testify can let staff know by using the raise your hand function if you wish to testify. Once you've been added to the testifier log, you will lower your hand. The staff will lower your hand for you. Testifiers wanting to provide video or audio testimony should have joined the online meeting via the tiny URL link or by calling into the phone number noted on today's agenda. Written testimony is encouraged and can be submitted via the e-comment link at mauicounty.us/agendas. Oral testimony is limited to 3 minutes per item. If you're still testifying beyond that time, you'll hear a second timer go off after 30 seconds, and I'll kindly ask you to complete your testimony. Proceed with oral testimony. Staff has been monitoring individuals joining us today's meeting by phone and by email, and we'll do our best to take each person up in an orderly fashion. Staff, will you call the first testifier, please?
Thank you, Chair. The first testifier is Clark Johnson, to be followed by Jill Wirt on Teams.
Good morning. Aloha, everybody. I'm testifying on 2 items. The first one is the Maui County Ferry Feasibility Study, as well as a general budgetary review of the Department of Transportation, ADEPT 1-1 and ADEPT 1-4. My name is Clark Johnson, aka Chip, Community Advocate for Positive Change. Today, I'm testifying about the Department of Transportation Maui bus. I'm recommending more frequent service on the bus, as well as a tap card. Tap card is an electronic card, which would speed up the processing of it. I also would like to recommend that there be a uniform fare structure throughout all of the transportation agencies in the state of Hawaii, whether it be Kauai, Big Island, Maui, or the system in Honolulu Island of Oahu. That will clarify some confusion as to how much the fare structure is on each individual system and have a more unified system. Also, I'd like to explore the idea of a discount to encourage commuting for the employers for their employees. And I would like to recommend a coordination between the Maui ferry that's being studied today to the Maui bus system, so there's a unique transfer between the two and they don't have to wait an hour and a half. So that's one of my additional recommendations. On the shelters, there is no bus shelter in the village of Paia. That's just one example of where a shelter would definitely be used, and that's just one idea. Having shelters in other locations would also be helpful too, as well as benches, because there are many stops that don't have benches and people to stand. A separate bus line from the bus hub to the airport would be good, with frequent service like every half hour. That would encourage more visitors to be able to use mass transit. I think that these ideas would be recommended, as well as additional funding for public transportation. That get less cars, that take more cars off the roads and be more environmentally friendly. With that, are there any questions?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Johnson, no relation. Does anybody have any question? Oh, we do have one from Councilmember Sugimura.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for your, do you have your testimony in writing? So you had such many.
What I can do is send it to email, because I do not have it written at this time.
Okay, that was very good. Question for you, just maybe Nohe was going to ask Councilmember U Hodges, but in Paia, where are you suggesting this bus hub to be, bus shelter to be?
Okay, there's two bus stops in Paia. One at the parking lot and one further in the town or village. So I recommend having bus shelters at all 4 stops if possible, especially the one by the parking lot, because you got the blazing hot sun, and then you got the elements too that come in because of rain.
Okay.
That's just one example. Also in South Maui would be good too. I think Councilmember Cook would support that.
Okay. So you're saying basically what you're saying is there are bus stops that do not have bus shelters.
That is correct.
Okay. Okay. And just
or benches.
And we're County of Maui, so we take care of our counties, but we have no jurisdiction over the other counties. So maybe that might be a state ask to do something to get to where you want. So all bus fares are the same, but it's not something that we would be able to mandate for the other counties. Just FYI.
Okay, so that would be a Maui planning organization linked with the state, if I'm not mistaken on that?
Yeah, that's one route to go.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And we do have another question for you, Mr. Johnson, from Councilmember Paul.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Johnson, for your testimony and your advocacy. I just was wanting to clarify if that expanded to bus routes that fit our residents' needs. I live in West Maui, and many of our restaurants our residents work restaurants and hotels, but there's no bus for them when they get off of work or they go to work, if it's like 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. or if you start work at 4 or 5 in the morning. I just was wanting to clarify if your advocacy expanded to that.
That's correct. I'd like to see earlier buses on that, because there's a lot of routes that are high demand. For example, Route 20, the Lahaina Islander, as well as Kihei, Route 10. And also in addition, right now, there's a segment of road, South Kihei Road, that's been affected by the last storm, so those things have been washed out. Those stops, And I noticed that the last stop between Pialani Shopping Center and the Transit Hub, or Salvation Army, when that storm hit, it took out 2 bus stops in addition, Uukai and Uwapa Road. So that was a long distance between those two. So there was many stops that were not accessible by the residents of Kihei.
Thank you for clarification and your advocacy. I'll support that as well. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any other, we do have a question from Councilmember Cook.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson, for your very thorough overview. And my clarifying question is really just to reinforce asking you to send everything in writing. It was very substantial, it was very organized, and it gives us a lot to follow up on. So please send that email.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any other hands by our council members, and thank you, Mr. Johnson, for your testimony. Staff, will you call the next testifier, please?
Thank you, Chair. I apologize. I think Mr. Johnson had a second item he wanted to testify on.
Mr. Johnson, was that your only, are you done, or is that any more items? Did you want to talk about the ferry feasibility study that you mentioned in the beginning?
Oh, excuse me. I thought my time had ran out because it was more than 3 minutes, but I guess that's
3 minutes per item, so.
Oh, per item. Oh, excuse me. The ferry. There used to be a ferry between Lahaina and Lanai. That ferry, don't know if you're planning on other ferries to the neighbor islands of Maui, or what was exactly, that was not very clear to me. But I think having ferry service would be a great idea, as long as it's environmentally sound with the ocean wildlife. Because I don't want to see a ferry run into a whale or other wildlife. That would not be good for anyone. And that's it.
Okay. Members, do we have any clarifying questions for him? I do not, but I will, just a point of information for you, Mr. Johnson, is in the Granicus on the website, we have the ferry feasibility study. If you want to take a look at it, it's posted on our Granicus.
Okay.
All right?
Thanks,
Thank you.
Councilman Johnson and everyone
Oh, we have a
else.
question from Councilmember Paulton.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify, like, you were asking the question, is that what you wanted? Or that for it to go to other neighbor
To
islands?
neighbor islands, yeah.
Within the county or within the state?
Within the county, but I know there was a feasibility study at one time between Maui County and Oahu. And I don't know if that's really practical at this time.
Yeah, no. But we, like, remember Sugimura said we have jurisdiction within the county. So if you wanted
Okay.
other island, I guess really the only other populated island is Molokai. So
It would be
you'd support.
Molokai as well as Lanai.
Yeah. So
That's
you're
what I'm speaking
supportive
of.
of that?
I'm sorry?
You're supportive of that?
Yes, I am, as long as it's, reasonable.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any other hands from the council member. Thank you, Mr. Johnson, for your testifier,
You're welcome.
or
Thank
your
you.
testimonies
Oh.
today. Okay, staff, will you call the next testifier, please?
Thank you, Chair. The next testifier is Jill Wirt, to be followed by Genesis Young. And Jill, if you're also able to indicate which items you'll be testifying on, that would be great.
Good morning. Can everyone hear me?
Loud and clear, Ms. Wirt.
Okay, great. I am testifying in support of maintaining or increasing funding for the Environmental Protection and Sustainability Division. Again, my name is Jill Wirt. Mahalo for having me and allowing me to testify this morning. I am the program director for Maui Nui Marine Resource Council. And again, in support of maintaining or increasing funding for the Environmental Protection and Sustainability Division. As recipients of EP&S funding, we greatly value the impact that it has made on our work. Some of our past and ongoing projects include reef-friendly landscaping, reef monitoring, and watershed restoration. Just this week, our team completed a coral restoration project funded by an EP&S grant where we were able to reattach coral colonies that weren't attached back onto the large reef substrate. We're working to build capacity to continue restoration work into the future. However, as a nonprofit, funding for capacity and implementation is often the limiting factor. These grants with EP&S enable real on-the-ground action to protect our reefs and marine ecosystems to support ongoing capacity building and monitoring efforts. We know that we have a lot of work to do and want to emphasize that these programs are necessary for preserving our island's economy, culture, and future. As conservationists, we do this work because we care very deeply for this place. The EPNS division has shown the same sense of care for our work, and they understand the complex layers that go into resource management decisions, which is why we are asking for continued and increased funding for the division's budget. There are many pieces that go into the conservation puzzle, but the work we are able to complete with EPNS funding allows us to continue doing the good work. We hope that you understand the need to invest in our environment's health to support our community's health and to ensure these vital environmental projects continue. Our community is already feeling the impacts from federal funding cuts to environmental programs. And while we understand the county has difficult decisions to make in regarding where the money goes, we ask that you consider the gaps that the EPNS division can fill for those funding cutbacks. I ask the committee to consider and recognize the importance of the EPNS grants and commit to maintaining or increasing funding for these programs. Mahalo for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Wirt, for your testimony. Members, do we have clarifying questions from Councilmember Sugimura?
Thank you very much for your good work. Two questions. One is, you talk about continued funding, so how much funding do you receive now from EPNS, and what federal funds have stopped?
Ms. Wirt?
Directly for us, we received a grant through the Inflation Reduction Act through DLNR and DOFA. And while that funding hasn't been paused, we're kind of waiting on information in real time. We do have other community organizations, I believe, that have seen reduced funding. Our partners from Oahu with the Coral Restoration Project are seeing cutbacks from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Currently, with the EPNS division for our coral restoration projects, we received for fiscal year 2025 just over $38,000. Our first coral restoration grant was $26,000, and then our reef-friendly landscaping grant through the Green Grants program was just over $12,000. We also have the additional green grants for just over $300,000 as well.
So what is your total amount? Are you saying all of that goes to you just as different pockets?
Yes, it funds all of our programs and restoration work that I mentioned above. So it's all housed under EPNS, and we rely very heavily for the support of those programs.
And the federal funding pauses happen with this new administration, and there's already this reaction, or was it before?
Ms. Wirt?
With this administration, yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions, clarifying questions for our testifier? Seeing none, thank you for the work that you do, Ms. Wirt.
Thank you.
Staff, will you call the next testifier, please?
Chair, the next testifier is Genesis Young, to be followed by Sarah Takula.
And can you hear me?
Yes.
Loud and clear, Mr. Young.
Can't turn the camera on.
All right, maybe we can activate the allowed button.
There it is.
There he goes.
Okay, thank you. So I'm Genesis Young, Director of Terran James Young Foundation, and also the Chair of the CAAC, the Climate Action Advisory Committee, which also has subcommittees of sustainable tourism and sustainable agriculture, which is relevant today. And I wanted to comment on something around the Department of Ag, and other comments on the watershed protection grants, and also on the EPNS environment. So there's three different things, so you are aware of what I'm planning. Okay. So I'll start with EPNS environment, and just want to second everything that Jill just said. As funding, it's been a great division in funding, and we've applied for a grant to support zero emission low noise landscaping incentive program, where you would exchange your gas lawnmower, your gas weed eater, and your gas blower, your loud blower for electric ones through an incentive program to try to get people to switch. It's much more efficient to have those tools because they cost less to run and they're more healthy for the environment as well as for yourself. But it's hard to switch. So an incentive program, I think, would be helpful. Other counties are definitely doing that. So I want to ask that be noted, and hopefully that will come to pass. Yeah, so that's that one. I'll move on to talking a little bit about Department of Ag. I believe that we need to incentivize regenerative ag through our new Department of Agriculture. And I think that could probably best be done by raising the agriculture property taxes on ag land, unless you do regenerative ag. So if you do regenerative ag, the property taxes will stay the same. So there'd be no loss in funding that way for the county this way. But if you do regenerative ag, they stay the same. And of course, the reason why regenerative agriculture is important is because it holds water better in the soil, and it actually sequesters carbon out of the atmosphere. And if everybody in the world changed to regenerative agriculture, our climate crisis would apparently reverse, would disappear apparently, because that's how much the soil can actually grab carbon. That's what I've been told. Also, in the Department of Agriculture, we need arborists in the budget. We need our trees better cared for. We're supposed to be a tree city, but we don't have as many trees as they do in Honolulu. Honolulu has over 20 arborists, so we definitely need arborists on staff, helping our trees, making them prune proper, making sure we keep our good trees. And it's one thing to plant little seedlings to try to overcome climate change, but cutting down a big tree is a much worse thing to do, actually. So our arborists could help with that through the Department of Ag or other, I think it's mainly through the Department of Ag. Okay, new topic, watershed protection grants. Not quite clear how this might work, but as many of you already know, we've been working to create and preserve the watershed, the wetland, just north of Welakaha Street in Kihei and adjacent to South Kihei Road. It's one of the places that floods, and there's 41 acres there available. It's 4 different TMKs. It's appraised at $6.123 million, and I believe the county should buy this land and preserve the wetland. And the upper high and dry part, which is not in the wetland, could be used for a managed eco village. I've given that presentation to many of you in the past, so I don't go into the whole thing right now, but I just feel we need to find a way to buy that land. The county needs to own it, not privately, not the state. The state refuses to buy it. It needs to be owned by the county to protect as the public trust, to fix the wetland, to regenerate the wetland in a proper way. We do it, in a Hawaiian way. We're doing it observationally, not with big backhoes and everything, but really needs to be taken care of. You take care of the people that are there. There's a lot of houseless people there, and they could be much better served with a managed houseless encampment there. And so that's just my plug for that. And I hope that is getting into the budget somewhere this year to get this land bought. We already offered him $6 million. He wants $10 million. So we'll see where that goes. But I would use eminent domain if I were you. Just, eminent domain isn't the taking. It just means he's getting paid market value, which is $6.123 million on the appraisal, which we paid for. Okay, I'm complete there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Young. Let's see if we have any questions from our council members. I don't see any hands. I appreciate your work and appreciate your testimony, Mr. Young. Staff, will you call the next testifier, please?
Chair, the next testifier is Sarah Takula, to be followed by Amy Hodges.
Aloha kako. I'm going to be testifying on 2 items today, wearing 2 different hats. So I literally have 2 hats that I will change so that you know when. First one, let's do this day. So the 2 items are the EP&S division item and the watershed protection item. So I will start with EP&S. So aloha, my name is Sarah Tekula, and I'm speaking on behalf of Haleakala Biochar, a company I have co-owned and operated with my husband since early 2020. We turn invasive fire-prone trees into biochar, reducing wildfire risk and diverting green waste while improving soil and watershed health. Dangerous fire fuels still pose a major threat to Kula's communities. Green waste solutions are needed more than ever. And we have developed a sustainable solution for harvesting these hazardous trees as a feedstock for biochar production. Thanks to past support from the Mayor's Office of Innovation and Sustainability, we built a biochar production facility on Crater Road in Kula, strategically located in the middle of hazardous dead or dying eucalyptus trees that are a major fire risk. This investment helped us establish infrastructure and grow our capacity. We also received one grant from Environmental Protection and Sustainability Department, EPNS, to help us boost capacity. But after the county's environmental related grants were moved to EPNS, our funding was not renewed, despite the increasing urgency of wildfire prevention and upcountry's increasing green waste challenges with wildfire and large storms on the rise. And I should note that we performed really well on our grants, and the reports were stellar. This reduction in funding has significantly slowed us down. We are seeking county funding, whether through a line item proviso or another source like EPNS and their grants program, to continue operating our biochar facility at full capacity for maximum community benefit. I understand that the county is hoping to increase their solid waste recycling grant funding to $1 million, and that would greatly benefit our communities upcountry. This funding would allow us to rehire the skilled workers we diligently trained in biochar production and had to let go, upgrade equipment to increase efficiency, and of course this is county funded equipment, continue reducing hazardous fire fuels in upcountry, support quantifiable carbon sequestration, and improve soil health for Maui's farmers, gardeners, and land stewards. Haleakala Biochar has also been developing the local biochar market with plans for statewide distribution in 2025. We're already in a lot of stores on Maui. However, to reach economic self-sustainability, we need funding to subsidize operational costs as we continue to build capacity and provide free biochar to fire survivors and damaged properties in both Lahaina and Kula. Investing in our work now will create skilled jobs, strengthen fire recovery and mitigation efforts, and support long-term ecosystem resilience. Mahalo. So that's my testimony for the EPNS item. Do you want me to continue to the second item or stop here for questions and then
Why don't we stop, because we have a couple questions. So if you don't mind stopping the timer.
I'll keep this hat on.
All right, Councilmember Sugamer, followed by Councilmember Paulton.
Good morning, Sarah. Nice to
Aloha,
see you. And thank you very much to you and Joel with all the things you're doing for us upcountry. So Haleakala Biochar, you're saying that you lost funding when it was transferred, when we just did this, transferred out of OED to EPNS. So what happened?
Yeah, so the expectation when we were partnering with EPNS is that they would help us for several years to get to where we needed to be for self-sustainability. We did apply to the OED and had a stellar application, and then we're told, nope, sorry, it got moved to EPNS, you have to reapply. We were given just a few weeks, and the application was totally different. But we went ahead and, did the application, and we thought, great, they funded us a few years ago with a little support. They know about us. But of course the staff there has changed too. And so we did not get renewed, which led us to having to let go of an important employee that we spent a lot of time training.
Okay, we'll talk. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Paulton.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ms. Tequila. Member Sugamer a little bit asked my question. I guess for clarification, if we had moved the money this budget session back to OED, I don't know that would be a guarantee that it would work out how before, because I think a bunch of people left OED, so it would be like a brand new thing. So I guess my clarification is other than a proviso, do you want to try to continue to work with the EPNS framework, or did you want to try and go to a new group of people at OED?
I mean, at this point, we're happy to work with anyone. You know, we recognize the resource that we've built in Kula is a county funded resource, you know, so whoever at the county wants to see this succeed, we're willing to do the work to make sure that happens. So either way, and you know, I really do want to see that funding increased at EPNS because we still do have supporters there. They're just not in, you know, with the shakeups and the changes. I think, you know, things are, I don't know. We just sort of lost the connection there. We're happy to rebuild that.
And then, you know, the folks that you are giving the biochar to, do you have photos of the results of the biochar on their property? Just, I mean, personal curiosity.
I mean, it gets mixed into the soil. But yeah, a very large quantity is being sent over to, through our partnership with the Nature Conservancy, over to the Ku'ia Education Center. And I believe it's going to be mixed in with compost from that's being made over there too.
Like the things that are being grown, like is there like fat gardens and stuff?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of proof that biochar supports crop production, but the reason we're sending it over to the fire affected properties is because biochar adsorbs heavy metals and metalloids that cannot be eaten by organic means. So you know, while you can add compost to soil, compost teas, etc., and that'll help eat the volatile organic compounds that happen in a post-fire environment, the heavy metals and metalloids remain, and in order to prevent those from washing downstream or moving into the air or moving into the plants that are going to be regrown on these properties, you add biochar. It acts like a magnet to the heavy metals and metalloids, and then it doesn't move. It makes it immobile, which means you can count on it not spreading around in a storm or in the wind or something like that. So it's not visible. It's under the ground.
Okay. All right, thank you.
We do have photos of the work. I mean, we have it being installed, you know, that kind of thing, but it's at the microscopic level. So.
Yeah, my eyes aren't that good. Thank you.
I know. I'm like wearing my glasses, still cannot. So.
Okay, I don't see any other hands for our testifier, so thank you once again, Ms. Tequila, for the work that you do. Staff, will you call the next testifier, please?
Just one more.
Oh, we do have one.
I'm going to change my hat.
Oh, switching hats. That's right. Beg your pardon.
All right, and I know it says Haleakala Biochar in my name on the screen, and I tried to change it and I could not, but I'm no longer testifying on behalf of Haleakala Biochar. I'm talking about the Watershed Protection Funds, and in this case, I'm speaking on behalf of the Kula Community Watershed Alliance, where I serve as executive director. We are working on stabilizing, protecting, and restoring the burned lands in the Kula fire in upcountry Maui. And I would like to request additional funding for watershed protection, particularly in post-wildfire environments. Wildfires don't just burn landscapes, they destabilize entire ecosystems. The 2023 fire left behind degraded soil, increased erosion risks, and reduced the land's ability to retain water. These impacts threaten native forests, drinking water sources, and the long-term resilience of upcountry Maui, not to mention our important nearshore water resources downslope, including our fish ponds, our wetlands, and our reef systems. Without intervention, invasive species will quickly dominate our burned areas, increasing the future fire risk and further degrading the watershed. Kula Community Watershed Alliance is actively working to, like I said, stabilize, protect, restore, and maintain these lands. And since the fire, we have removed hazardous invasive regrowth that fuels future future wildfires. We planted native species to stabilize soil and improve water retention. We've installed water erosion control measures to protect downhill communities and water sources. And we've engaged local residents, volunteers, and partner organizations in hands-on restoration efforts. Despite this progress, much more work remains. We need county funding to scale up these efforts and ensure the watershed recovers in a way that builds long-term resilience. Specifically, funding will allow us to expand invasive species removal and fire break maintenance, increase native plant restoration to rebuild healthy forests, implement additional erosion control projects, and support community-led stewardship programs to keep these efforts going. Contrary to popular belief, our watersheds consist of the entire landscape of our mountain slopes, Mauka to Mackay, not only the tops of our mountains. We are also seeing federal funding for our recovery and mitigation efforts decreasing or being terminated entirely with the new administration in Washington. Investing in watershed protection at the county level now is far more cost effective than responding to future wildfires and water crises. The most recent Kona storm is a very good example of that. The longer we wait, the harder and more expensive restoration becomes. We urge the county to prioritize funding for post-fire watershed recovery in Upper Kula to protect our land, water, and community. Mahalo.
Okay. We have a clarifying question from Councilmember Sugimura.
Thank you, Sarah. So, of course, thanks to Joe also, right? You're the dynamic duo plus Henry. I appreciate all the work that you have done and pulled our community together after the August 3rd wildfire. So this is my question for you from a clarifying question. So how much, you said to increase watershed funding support, that's one question, how much? And then for your Kula Watershed Alliance, did you get any funding from the county for the work you're doing?
Ms. Tekula?
We have received, thank you. Thanks for your question, Yukide. We have received zero county funding. And we would love it. We'd love if our council member would advocate for us for that funding. And as far as how much, I'm talking about our organization, but I think we need it beyond just our organization. A lot of the support for watersheds has, like I mentioned earlier, gone to the mountaintops only. Mm-hmm. That's extremely important. That should not decrease, that should increase. However, if you protect it up here and then it starts to flow down and becomes muddied with unstable soil, you're sending that down the mountain. You're generating lots of water up top, and then it's becoming a pollution problem, a sediment loss problem, et cetera. So we need to actually care for it as the water goes down. We need the water to be able to be absorbed into the groundwater. We need to actually recharge that. And as it continues to flow down, it needs to flow clean. And so as far as the money goes, I don't have a number for you prepared at this time. I can definitely submit something to you, but I think it goes beyond our organization and looks across the island in various different watersheds. If you look at the watershed protection plans that are in place for our different watersheds at mauiwatersheds.org, you can see all of the recommended practices there that have been diligently put together by members of the community who are, well versed in these topics. It's all been spelled out. And as for the Waiakoa watershed that the Kula Community Watershed Alliance operates under, we're written into that watershed plan as part of the solution. So I'm sorry I was not prepared with a number for you today.
Okay, we'll talk definitely on the two items. Thanks. Thank you.
See, that's the beauty of this meeting is now we're getting people talking, all right before budget. Thank you so much, Ms.
Yeah,
Tekula.
look at that.
All right.
Thank you, Gabe.
We do have another question from Councilmember Cook.
Thank you for your work, your advocacy. I echo and amplify what you're saying as far as the importance. I was recently with NRCS in the Kalaniakoi and the Waikoa gulches by P.E. Lunny Highway, it is so chronic, the soil erosion, that it is no longer simply the silt, it's also rock. It's severe soil erosion that's occurring. So you keep doing what you're doing. The council's going to do what we can do. Hopefully we get the state and the federal. NRCS is working on it. But what you're seeing needs to be said repeatedly. Thank you so much for your testimony.
Okay, any other questions for our testifier? Seeing none, thank you once again for all the work you do, Ms. Tecchio. Thank you. Chair or
Thank you.
staff, will you call the next testifier, please?
Thank you, Chair. The next testifier is Amy Hodges, to be followed by Christina De Leon.
Aloha, Chair and council members. I'm testifying on the EP&S division budget. I'm Amy Hodges, Executive Director at Maui Nui Marine Resource Council and proud recipient of Environmental Protection and Sustainability Division grants. Here today to express my strong support for the continued and increased funding of the EP&S Division's grant program budget. I've personally experienced environmental grants being administered under now 4 different county offices or divisions, and can honestly speak to just how wonderful it has been to work with the EP&S staff that are there at this time. Having someone on the other end who is entirely focused on the environment, has the background knowledge to understand our work and its importance, understands that we're out here trying to move the needle for Maui, has really streamlined the grant-related tasks and strengthened the program. You know, we're not out here doing like one-offs, little shiny projects that don't have any bearing, right? Like these projects and these grants are landscape scale, significant impact, often multi-year efforts. We're trying to walk back the impact that we've had on the environment from over the past few generations. And this takes time, commitment, understanding, and investment. And so I felt this come through from the EP&S division. Our projects include coral restoration, coastal water quality monitoring with Huioka-Vaiola, reef-friendly landscaping, reef fish, invertebrate monitoring, erosion and ungulate mitigation, watershed restoration, all wrapped up within community involvement. We're out here every day on the front lines doing the good work from out of love, from in here, right? We're going to be here today, tomorrow, and in the future for Maui. We're staying the course. And it's not out of greed that we or other groups ask for grant funding, right? It's out of necessity. And again, the EP&S division has shown that they understand this motivation and urgency and the need. I know that council members have to make hard decisions on where they put the money that Maui has, but the current federal landscape is causing substantial cuts to critical environmental agencies and programs across our nation, and our Maui community is already feeling the impacts. These federal cutbacks underscore the importance of the EP&S division's grants being vital to fill the gaps, ensuring that these essential environmental programs continue. I know that here in Hawaii, we get it. We understand how our lives are connected to the environmental health. And we know we won't make it if our environment doesn't. Investing in EP&S grants is not merely an expenditure, it's a proactive measure to safeguard our natural resources, our health, and foster a sustainable future for Maui County. I urge the committee to recognize the profound impact that these programs and to allocate the necessary funds to EP&S to support and expand them. Mahalo.
Thank you, Ms. Hodges, for your testimony. Staff or members, do we have any clarifying questions? I don't see any hands. Thank you so much, and I appreciate the work that you do, Ms. Hodges. Staff, will you call the next testifier, please?
Chair, the next testifier is Christina De Leon, to be followed by Charlene Schulenberg.
Aloha, good morning. My name is Christina De Leon with the Terran James Young Foundation. Can everyone hear me okay?
Loud and clear, Ms. De Leon.
Thank you so much. First, I'd like to just second everything that Genesis said on regarding the different projects that we're working on. But specifically, I would like to testify in support of maintaining and increasing the funding for the EP&S division. While our organization hasn't yet received a grant from EP&S, we've been in discussions with Michelle McClendon regarding our zero emission, low noise landscaping incentive program that Genesis talked about a little bit. But this program program would basically incentivize Maui residents to recycle their gas lawnmowers and leaf blowers, and to help them to purchase new electric landscaping equipment, which would greatly reduce the harmful polluting gas on our island, as well as increase our quality of life. And so we would love for there to be a line item for this project added to the EP&S budget. As Ms. Michelle has said that she is in full support of this and she would like to personally oversee this project. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. DeLeon. Members, do we have any, we do have a question, clarifying question from Councilmember Paul.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ms. DeLeon, for your testimony. I just was wondering if you have any research or data as to how long the electric tools last. Anecdotally, I've heard, they don't last as long. And then so if you're replacing these electric tools with the lithium batteries, it's a little bit questionable, like the balance of the good for the environment. My neighbor had one electric weed eater, I believe, and it conked out after a couple years, but the gas-powered one is still going strong. So I just was wondering if there's any data on how long it lasts for in general.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yeah, definitely. And I know the lithium battery is a really big concern. And, that obviously has an impact on the environment. I know the batteries are, the technology there is getting better and better. And so they're lasting longer. In the full report that I sent to Michelle, I included some information there, as well as ways of recycling a lithium battery, because that was also a question, how once the battery, gives out or whatever, how can we recycle it so we're not having this negative impact on the environment? There are different ways of doing that, including there is a way of recycling the batteries on Maui as well. I don't have the exact data on how, specifically how long they will last. I'm sure Ridge to Reefs, they would have that information. I can find that out for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. Any other clarifying questions for our testifier? We do have one from Councilmember Sugimura.
Thank you very much. So incentivize, what are you thinking about in terms of how the program, you have something in mind?
Ms.
Just
DeLeon?
clarifying question.
Yes, definitely. So it would work in terms of a rebate. So ideally, the resident would recycle their gas lawnmower, leaf blower, and then purchase a new one. And upon purchasing that, if we were to be able to receive the grant, we could reimburse them for part of that new equipment. So it's not quite so expensive to replace.
So do you have a dollar amount you're thinking that would work? And is there a program that you're modeling this again after?
There's not a program we're modeling it after. Most states actually just ban. They've been doing bans on these, and we know that that's a little bit of a harder sell. So we thought we would push more for an incentive program instead, just to kind of more inspire people to do it on their own. So we did have an amount. We would like to reimburse electric lawnmowers for $250 and electric leaf blowers for $100.
How much again for the leaf blower?
100.
100.
100.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Do you know how many there are in the community that you're trying to incentivize?
We have an estimate. Yes. Let's see. So if there's about 74,000 homes and buildings, and if you estimate that each household has one, so it's about 75,000. Depending on the amount of the grant, there's in the proposal that I sent to Michelle, there's a couple different funding options for the amount of the grant. So of course, depending on the size of the grant, that allows us that determines the number of lawnmowers and leaf blowers that we can replace.
Wow. Sounds like the federal government should get involved in that one. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That would be ideal. Thank you.
Okay, any other clarifying questions? I don't see anyone, so thank you once again for your work, Ms. DeLeon. Staff, will you call the next testifier, please?
Chair, the next testifier is Charlene Schulenberg, to be followed by Jay Pennyman. Charlene is unmuted on our end. She would just have to unmute her camera and microphone. Charlene, to unmute your camera and mic, you would have to go to the top right of your screen to enable your microphone and camera. There we go.
All right. I think I finally got it. For some reason, it was totally hiding. Hi, everyone. Aloha. Long time no see. Thanks for all your hard work and great conversation. I am representing Ko'i'ula, and we are a excuse me, Froggy. We are a Native Hawaiian organization. I'm the only haole in the group and proud to have been asked to be part of it. And we deal with the wetlands on a regular basis. I personally started working on this in 2010. We started getting our first grants from the county in 2017 or the approvals. Excuse me. I would like to pose a question to you all because you keep asking how much money do we need. I would like you to, because I don't want to run out of time, I would like you to think about how much money are you willing to give all of these groups? Because we've seen the devastation that the fires created. We've seen the devastation that the flooding is creating. And so we're all at a crossroads right here, right now. I know we've probably even said those words before, but it is more of a crisis now than even before. We have to be realistic. I'll bet you every single one of these groups could easily say, we need $1 million for next year, every single one. And we still wouldn't be able to accomplish that which we need to accomplish. I know it sounds, trite to say ditto on what everybody else said, but seriously, Jill's testimony, Sarah's testimony, Tom's mentioning how critical this is, Amy's testimony, it's all ditto. So I don't know how else to answer that question either. I don't think we can come up with a number. I think you guys have to, collectively and holistically come up with a number of what we're willing to, as a community, to invest in these projects. And that's no easy task. Because again, we know that the feds are cutting, blah, blah, blah. So, I don't need to go on. You get the message. I also really enjoy working with the EPNS as is. They are focused. It has made things easier. We're very grateful for the grants that we've gotten that have been funded since officially 2020 on, and we're probably in our we've changed names, but we're in like our 5th grant. And so if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer specifics or, write in and give you guys some more information. But all of this wetland work, all of the watershed work, all of this work is just hugely critical. Yeah. So that's what you get when you live on an island.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Schulenberg. Let's see if we have any clarifying questions, member. Any clarifying questions? Councilmember Sugimura.
Yeah, thank you for your good work. I remember going to that St. Anthony dinner that you all, or lunch that you all had, and you're like their miracle grant writer. So my question to you.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, my question to you is from what you said. So are you in the mayor's budget? Have you advocated to...
in the current budget?
Well, current
or
future.
In the 2026. Okay, so we have a grant that was just started in the calendar year from the mayor's budget. I believe it originally came from OIS, but it got transferred over to EPS. And then we have I don't know if it's called proviso. We have a proviso that's coming. It just hasn't been activated yet. So we have 2 grants that we get to work with from the beginning, effectively from the beginning of this year to the end of this year. However, I know we're talking about 2026 money. So I would advocate, please, on behalf of Ko'i'ula, that we do get another proviso or provisio set in. We got, the plan is to get $200,000. Like I said, we haven't received it yet, but it's a calendar year 2025 expenditure, and we're just waiting. We're waiting for the final on that. But we could certainly always use more. We're in the mayor's budget and received another 200,000. So we have a total of, excuse me, 400,000 this year, and it's primarily for removal of invasives, education, outreach, but it's never enough. It's just never enough. We had asked for like 2 times that amount, and each time we got awarded, we got cut back severely. So when we do those cutbacks, we have to, re-examine what we can keep and what we can do. So, yeah, everybody was challenged in this last bit. Yeah.
So you're saying,
Thank you.
Ko'i'ula, Koiula?
Correct, Ko'i'ula.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Seeing no other clarifying questions, thank you, Ms. Schulenberg, for your testimony. Appreciate it.
Aloha.
Thank you for the work you do.
Aloha.
Staff, will you call the next testifier, please?
Chair, the next testifier is Jay Pennyman, to be followed by a user who called in with the last 4 digits, 9170.
And how many more do we have after that?
We have one more individual signed up to testify, Clara Pana.
Thank you. Mr. Penniman?
Aloha, Chair Johnson, Chair Lee, members of the ADEPT Committee. I am Jay Penniman. I live in Hamakualoa, and I've managed the Maui Nui Seabird Recovery Project for the past 19 years. You and past council members have supported the work of MNSRP for many years, and the results are appreciable. The funding you have provided through the Department of Environmental Management, Environmental Protection and Sustainability Division has produced tangible benefits for our native seabirds and the habitats they depend upon for their annual breeding. In the locations where we use county funding to control predators, monitor the birds' reproductive success, and remove alien weeds, replacing them with native plant species, our seabirds are thriving. These birds are bringing marine-derived nutrients to the terrestrial nesting habitats, and these nutrients feed the soils and the nearshore coral reef communities. This service allows the coral reefs to accrete as sea level rises, protecting our coastal shorelines. This process will take years to become fully integrated and requires the additional input that the county is also funding to control erosion and the deposition of soil on our reefs. But we are on a positive trajectory. The other county funding aspect of our work that is essential for the restoration and protection of our native seabirds is funding for our outreach professional. Raising awareness among the public is essential in ecological restoration, and especially so for seabirds. We depend upon educated residents and visitors to recognize seabird breeding colonies and stay on paths, keep dogs and cats on leashes, and not step on and crush seabird burrows. Our work in schools and public events always get rave reviews, with parents contacting us after our educators have been to schools saying that their keiki brought home such amazing facts about the importance of seabirds and healthy marine native habitats. We appreciate the support and management of our grants through EPNS. Staff from the department has attended activities with our seabirds and outreach events, getting hands-on experience with the amazing Namanu Okekai. Before we were able to protect these birds with county funding, many more of them failed to successfully breed due to predation by cats, mongoose, and rats, and trampling by unaware people. We are aware there are many demands on limited budgets, but we ask that you consider the value of these native animals to our island ecology and cultural heritage. County of Maui has been a leader in supporting ecological protection and restoration, and it is our fervent hope that support will continue to be provided at current levels. Mahalo.
Thank you, Mr. Penniman. Members, do we have any clarifying questions for our testifier? Seeing none, thank you for the work that you do, Mr. Penniman. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Staff, will you call the next testifier, please?
Chair, the last individual signed up to testify is Clara Pana.
Aloha, Ms. Apana.
Good morning. Good morning, council members. Very nice to see you all here. Thank you for this opportunity to tell you a little bit about the grant that, we are the fiscal sponsor of a project in Waiahulikai that is run by Coco Nemeth or Cody Nemeth. And I believe he's provided you written testimony, and you know his project because when his grant was not approved last year, you were able to find the funds so that he could have a line item grant. And what has happened is we have been put back into the EPNS, is that right, the branch. I just want to make some thoughts that may improve this branch. When the grant was not approved, we realized that there were no people that were looking at the grant and approving the grant who are Kanaka Maoli, who are Hawaiian. And this is about the environment and sustainability. That is our kuleana. Traditional Hawaiian practices have never been given the full respect or been used in the way that it could to help Maui. And I'll tell you, this is the proof in the pudding, and if I was more technologically savvy, I would have brought it to you. If you go to Coco Nemeth's website, Waiahulikai, Aina Kukoa, or Waiahulikai, you will see drone footage of the last storm event we had here, where South Kihei Road had to be closed. And you'll see the project area that is being run by Aina Kukoa. What is happening is all around it, things are being destroyed, the road, the condo areas, the flooding, the extra, etc. But on this piece of land that has been so carefully brought back to life in a traditional way, you see the water sitting on the land as it should be. You do not see the silt running off into the ocean. You see the water being held by the land. And I cannot tell you any more than that, but we need to have more of this, and we need to have a place where the Hawaiian tradition is respected, understood, and supported. Because we're not grant people, as Ms. Schulenberg is. You know, I believe that this project of Aina Kukoa has given the best and the largest wetland reclamation in Maui, and he did it on a fourth of the money, maybe less than that, because we're not people who know these grant systems and how to get all this money. I hope that you will always look out for this project and keep it in the budget as a line item, because at present, I don't believe that the grants that are doing traditional practice, real traditional practice, have a place to be heard. And I'll just give you one quick example. in OED in the year 2023, there wasn't enough money for all the grants. So what was decided was that everybody would take a cut so that all the grant projects could go forward. And that is much more of our traditional way. And I think there has to be a place for it. And I hope that you will consider this in the future, because it is just due to Cody Nemet's persistence and knowing how important what his work is that he was able to find funding.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for allowing me to testify today.
Of course,
and
Ms.
please go to the website and see for yourself.
Well,
what it
I
looks
went up
like.
here and I went to where Cody does his work. So he does great work out there. So
Yes, he
thank you so
does.
much. Let me see if we have any clarifying questions for you.
Thank you.
I don't see any hands up online or in the chambers. So thank you so much for your testimony, Ms. Apana. I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. And staff, will you call the next testifier, please?
Chair, I believe there may be a Marianne Pahukoa who might want to testify.
Do we have Ms. Papacoa online who would like to testify?
Yes, Chair. They're currently online. They would just need to unmute their microphone and camera.
Okay, the unmute button is in the top right-hand corner. It says mic. It looks like a little speaker.
There we go.
Aloha.
Okay.
Aloha,
Aloha.
Mary Ann Pahukoa. Hi, good morning. I'd just like to advocate for the EP&S department. I've witnessed their direct support for kalo farming initiatives, increasing food capacity for our island community by means of kalo products and poi, and of course, watershed management. And its critical components to environmental sustainability, economic resilience, and supporting various organizations like Kula Watershed Alliance. What great work. And I can go on and on, but overall, I'll just summarize and say that, mahalo for allocating and supporting EP&S department. We see direct impacts, positive impacts when it comes to conservation and habitat preservation from Mauka to Makai. So ensuring, the health of our watersheds comes from securing funding. And yeah, I'll just say I strongly support, EP&S, and I've seen them directly support Hawaiian values. Of course, I support Hawaiians holding seats, but I've witnessed their staff supporting our initiatives full force, attending Limu festivals and supporting zero waste initiatives and festivals throughout our island, decreasing waste headed to our landfills, which is so important. And then recycling initiatives. I can go on and on, but mahalo for your time and mahalo for supporting this amazing department.
Thank you so much for your testimony, Ms. Papacoa. Let's see if, we have a question from Councilmember Paul.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ms. Pahukoa, for your testimony. I just wanted to clarify, your organization received funds from EP&S?
Ms. Papacoa?
We did receive funds this year for a waste management initiative happening now. Last year, we were awarded for taro farming, and I was not able to complete paperwork in a timely manner due to something small like insurance. And so we had to release those funds. EP&S put it back into their funding. But the fact that they were so strongly supportive of our taro farming and our goals, and nonetheless, we did it, without the funding. We could have increased food capacity. We could have increased our farming production. But just the fact that they tried really hard to, get the ball rolling and get us on our feet. But we're a brand new organization, a 7-generational farm, but that was Pala that we didn't take care on our end. It had nothing to do with, EPNS, but the fact that they were so supportive for taro farming in our small village, it meant a lot to us at the time. And we'll continue to work on getting our Pala together to qualify for next funding, if possible.
Thank you. And the other thing I wanted to clarify is if the funding was competitive or a proviso.
Ms. Pahukoa?
It was a competitive.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you for
Mahalo.
your responses. Let's see if we have any other clarifying questions. I don't see any, so thank you once again for your testimony. Staff, will you call the next testifier, please?
Chair, that is currently all the individuals signed up to testify. Would you like to do a last call?
Okay, does anyone wish to testify right now? Members, if there's, seeing there's no more individuals wishing to testify, I'll proceed with the agenda. It's 10:15. You folks want a break right now, or we can go a little bit into it? Okay, we're rolling.
Chair, I apologize. If there's no objections, could we close oral testimony for the beginning of the meeting?
Okay, no objections for closing at the beginning of the meeting. Okay. Operational and budgetary review of the Department of Agriculture. In accordance with Rule 7B of the Rules of the Council, the committee will receive a presentation and discuss matters relating to an operational or budgetary review of the Department of Agriculture. No legislative action will be taken. Members, with the FY26 budget deliberations around the corner, I have invited various departments under the ADEPT committee jurisdiction to present today on their FY25 budgets and let us know their priorities in FY26. I'd like to hear from first from the Department of Agriculture, whose important task is to support the development and continued management of a sustainable regional agricultural model, promote resident and ecosystem health and well-being, and create a circular agroeconomic system that can be a thriving example to the rest of the world. That right from your webpage. Director Arce and Deputy Director Heva, thank you for being here today. Please proceed with your presentation.
Thank you, Councilmember Chair Johnson, Aloha Kakahiaka, ADEPT Committee. Thank you for letting us present on our fiscal year 25 budget. We have a slide presentation this morning. Please advance to the next slide.
Let me just check real quick with the folks online. Councilmember Sinanci, can you see that? Can you see the present? Okay, all right, please continue.
The Department of Agriculture, now just over 2.5 years old, was developed with the intent to provide advocacy and not create additional regulatory barriers on all matters related to agriculture. Next. The Department of Agriculture overall total budget of $8,312,312.16 is a temporary 3% decrease from fiscal year 24 budget. Next slide. The increase in the salaries and wages is attributed to the step raises the staff received as approved by the unions. Also, this fiscal year, the department was approved one funded arborist position that we are currently developing the position description for. The arborist will be a resource for agroforestry and tree-related work, both in recovery efforts and for the greater agriculture community. The arborist will also work with the planning department on the review of parking lot trees and work with the Parks and Recreation Department on the review of trees at county beach parks. Next. The department was approved 13 expanded positions and began with 10 full-time positions in place. In addition to the 13 expanded positions, we secured federal funding close to $500,000 for one limited term appointed 3-year position for an agriculture conservation liaison. Currently, as we all know, the federal funding is paused, but the position has been established with the Department of Personnel Service. Also this year, 2 park caretaker ones were onboarded, increasing the number of staff to 12. The county agriculture program falls under the department. These park caretaker ones will provide ground management to the Kula Agriculture Park. Next slide, please. The department's agriculture operations budget decreased by $682,000 from last fiscal year. This is reflected in the decreased professional services budget by $412,000. The professional services budget covered the following contracted services. Enviro Services was contracted to clean up one Kula Agriculture Park lot, and this will make this lot in addition to a second lot available for future farmers. Feral Animal Removal Experts, also known as FAIR, is contracted for hunting deer in Kula Ag Park. Construction costs to renovate Department of Agriculture's office was used to create a larger meeting space. A significant reduction is also reflected in the county grant subsidy, which we'll discuss later. The advertisement budget was also decreased by $20,000, and we used that budget to cover the cost of printing educational materials. Next slide. There are a number of projects ongoing within the department, which we will provide a summary. I'll hand the mic over to Koa right now.
Velino Makaku, hello. Hello. Talk a little bit about the grant subsidy. The 6.172 million county grant subsidy was divided into non-competitive and competitive grants within each category of the funding topic areas or buckets that you see in this slide and the next slide. You can actually go to the next slide too. This year, we had like 3 times the amount of applications than we had last year. So yeah, it was crazy. We awarded about 64 out of 111 applicants compared to last year's 22. And this is across the county, all 3 islands. Next slide. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So if you guys get any questions, you can go back one more slide. These are the buckets that we developed. So this current year, we tried to do something new because before we assumed OED's ways of grant applications, our grant application process. So we tried to develop our own, a more farmer-friendly and diversify our buckets and the strategies. So in our ag ops budget, we had about 41 funded in that. Our ag recovery bucket around 17. And then we added a few buckets last year, if you guys remember, livestock, non-food producing agriculture, and specific buckets for Lanai, Molokai, and Hana. Okay, we can go over to the next slide.
The Ag Park staff is currently establishing a field office at the Kula Ag Park inside the Department of Water Supply's fenced-in reservoir property. The construction of the booster pump began recently. The funds have been encumbered. Other CIP projects currently in the planning and design phase are a larger reservoir for drought amelioration and increased water storage for fighting fire, and a 12-inch forced main line which will connect the 2.4 million gallon reservoir to the new Upper Maui Agriculture Park. Next slide. This map shows the location of the new Upper Maui Agriculture Park, which we refer to as UMAP, which is being planned to go under construction next year, providing funding. It's the light colored green on the left of the map, the sort of triangular shape. Next slide, please.
Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about our food security program, our food security division, which I think is doing a stellar work. Everybody's doing great work, so shout out to our staff. But the Maui County Food and Nutrition Security Plan is being developed to ensure that all Maui County residents have access to affordable, nutritious, culturally appropriate food. This plan acknowledges the power of our local food system as a driver of health, cultural connection, resilience, and aims to facilitate measurable change in our food systems by 2030. The plan was developed in collaboration with over 900 of our community members, which is fantastic, including our farmers, ranchers, fishers, educators, public health professionals. We held public meetings throughout the 3 islands to get feedback, and just finished up on the second round of public input, and this plan should actually be finalized in the next week or 2. And just to elaborate a little bit more, I don't know if it shows it in this slide, but there's 4 goals I'm just going to emphasize a little on. Ensure all residents have access to nourishing, culturally relevant foods at all times. Goal number 1. Goal 2, to support producers and expand food production to create an abundant and self-sufficient food system. Number 3, build vibrant local food economies and profitable career pathways for farmers and food system workers. And then number 4, to promote healthy, resilient ecosystem and responsible resource stewardship. So from what I understand, I think it's going really, really well. So look forward to the questions. So our food access coordinator, Lauren Nelson, has already started identifying leads to champion. So this is really a community's plan. Like having the community work together with us in taking some accountability and ownership and champion some of the initiatives that we've been creating. So, yeah, and actually we look forward to, if you guys are ready, Chair, to provide a presentation for you all in ADEPT one day soon. Okay, next slide, mahalo.
The department is working with Parks Department and Corporation Council to launch the Lanai Farmers Market, which will be the first Dubucks site on Lanai, offering 50% off produce to Lanai SNAP customers. The market will also run the Lanai Food Stimulus Program, supporting food vouchers for kupuna and families with children. A Lanai-based manager has been identified to support the farmers market and to run SNAP, Dubucks, and eventually WIC at the market. Additionally, the department is coordinating with Go Farm to create a series of free educational courses for Lanai farmers geared towards market readiness and covering food safety to business planning to prepare producers for the market. Next slide.
Could talk a little bit about our other new division that we created, Advocacy and Education, headed by Kaya Medeiros. So the department is working closely with Strategies 360s, the county's consultant in following and tracking over 40 agriculture bills and drafting testimonies with our initiatives, 3 initiatives: ag investment and infrastructure, food access, invasive species, and environment. Yeah, next slide. Thank you. I'll talk a little bit about one of our programs, Coconut Rhinoceros Beetle Working Group that we've established when we founded detection. So the CRB Working Group is a multi-agency group that met monthly last year with leaders from the Department of Ag, Department of Environmental Management, the Mayor's Office, CTAR, MISC, MOMISC, CRB Response, HISC, and H2A to support the development of a CRB emergency response plan for the County of Maui, one of the only ones in the state. This plan is currently being finalized by CRB Response through CTAR. MDOA is designing a CRB awareness social media campaign for 2025, covering the cost of educational materials which were distributed on all islands at retail, gardening, and hardware stores. The CRB Working Group will host additional trainings and community meetings to empower Maui County residents to detect and report CRB to stop its spread. And I believe last year we worked together with the different agencies to put it into Workday for our county departments to participate in. And I think that's a a great initiative for our community. And our last slide.
All right. Thank you, Director Arce and Deputy Director Heva for your presentation. Now we're going to ask for clarifying questions only, and then later on we'll get into the deliberations, but only clarifying questions, members. Okay, seeing none, let's open up public testimony again for this item. So at this time, if there's anyone wishing to testify on this item, please use the raise your hand function and you will be called upon to testify. Staff, is there anyone wishing to testify on this item?
Chair, the first testifier is Lisa Stroker in the chamber, to be followed by a phone user dialing in with the last 4 digits, 6659.
Mahalo nui. My name is Lisa Strohecker with the Maui Invasive Species Committee. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm going to keep this one brief. I just wanted to acknowledge the positive collaborative working and relationship that we've had with Maui Department of Agriculture with the coconut rhinoceros beetle. It was rapid and responsive, and we were able to leverage partnerships. It's been a very strong and supportive working group, and we appreciate all of the positive forward actions.
Great, thank you. Let me see if we have any clarifying questions. Members, any clarifying questions? We do have one from Councilmember Sugimura. Go ahead.
Thank you. So your work with Department of Ag was only with the coconut rhinoceros beetle. Was there grant involved, or was it just a community collaboration?
It was a community collaboration, just organizing and collaborating and filling gaps.
Great.
Thank you.
Got to fill the gaps. Thank you so much. Any other clarifying questions? Seeing none, thank you so much. Staff, will you call the next testifier, please?
Chair, the next testifier is an individual signed in on Teams with the last 4 digits, 6659. They are unmuted on our end. They would just have to press, I believe, *6 to unmute.
Well, we can come back and ask them as we go on to the next testifier, because I do see Lori Buchanan on the line.
Yes, sure. We'll enable her microphone right now.
Ms. Buchanan?
There you are.
There we
Aloha. Thank you for enabling my camera and my microphone. Aloha, my beloved council members and the ADEPT committee. Thank you for this opportunity to testify today. I mostly am here to testify on this agenda item, and I wanted to thank Kali and Koa Heva for that wonderful presentation. The newly formed Maui Department of Ag has been very open and collaborative with the Invasive Species Committee. Kali approached us in 2024 to see if we were able to head up the CRB response on the island of Molokai, and the answer is, of course, yes. 50% of our time on Molokai is now dedicated to early detection and rapid response of coconut rhinoceros beetle. We were also able to go with Chair RC to Kalaupapa and establish an early detection and rapid response program for CRB there. It is important because the North Shore of Molokai hosts some of the most beautiful native lo'olu palms, and so trying to do early detection for that is so very critical. So I just wanted to thank the Department of Ag, and I wanted to thank the Maui County Council and the ADEPT committee for supporting the program. Thank you very much. Aloha.
Thank you. We do have a clarifying question for you, Ms. Buchanan, from Councilmember Sinensi.
Aloha.
Mahalo, Chair, and hello, Ms. Buchanan. Mahalo for your testimony. I was just curious, has any funding from the State Department of Agriculture part of this educational efforts?
Ms. Buchanan?
I believe the short answer is no. I believe that the state funds the Maui Department of Ag. That is a Kali question, and then also I would refer that to Lisa if Lisa wants to respond to that. But as far as the CRB is on Molokai, we also do act on Hawaii Invasive Species Councils and the funding through state funding. So that's the vehicle, I believe, that where we receive our funding through, and not directly from the State Department of Ag. But I can stand need to be corrected.
Okay, I can ask later. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
We do have a clarifying question from Councilmember Paulton.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ms. Buchanan, for your testimony. I just wanted to clarify, have you detected coconut rhinoceros beetle on Molokai at this time?
Ms. Buchanan?
Ole.
And is...
not yet, but we're waiting, we're watching, we're ready.
Is MOMISC allowed to, kind of monitor the ports of entry? Because that's where they would come in, right?
Correct. And we do monitor, we have a good working relationship with our harbor master, also with the manager from YB. We do it in a nice way because, we do not have authority. We are not the Department of Ag. However, we do work closely with the Maui Department of Ag, the State Department of Ag workers on Maui are really great. If I pick up the phone and I give them a call, they will respond. So shout out to your state ag workers, Department of Ag workers on Maui Island. They're fantastic. So we just work collaboratively and try to be nice. And that way we are granted access, and we do have trapping available at the ports of entry right now.
That's the ethyl something traps that attracts it. So then if you see that, then that's an indication that it went through.
Okay.
Yes, it's the bullet-looking traps with the pheromone.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other clarifying questions, members? Seeing none, thank you once again for your testimony, Ms. Buchanan. Staff, will you call the next testifier, please?
Chair, we can circle back to the user calling in with the last four digits 6659, and to unmute on your phone, you would just have to press *6.
6659, that's the number. Okay.
Chair, we're seeing no response from the individual. Would you like to move on to the next testifier?
Sure.
I believe the next testifier is J.C. Law.
J.C. Law was in the chambers, and he's coming down from outside.
Aloha kakahiaka, aloha kako, aloha akaku, the Luna Honolulu Johnson-san. Mahalo nui. Thank you very much, brother, for promoting agriculture in the Kingdom of Hawaii and using manaka aupuni, the power of the government to prevent foreign corporations that put profit over people from taking over our food supplies. Please restore the funding to previous levels for the Department of Agriculture, especially the Food Security Program, Mr. Larry Nelson, and I reserve the rest of my time for the Hawaiians.
JC, that was a very articulate testimony, and I appreciate you. Thank you. Staff, do we have any other testifiers? Any clarifying questions for our testifier? Seeing none, thank you once again.
Chair, that's currently all the individuals signed up to testify on this item. Would you like to do a last call?
Okay. Last call for any testifiers. Okay, members, seeing there's no more individuals wishing to testify, are there any objections to closing oral testimony for this item?
No objections.
All right, we'll close public testimony for this item and go into deliberations. Okay. Operational and budgetary review of the Departments of Agriculture. Let's enter discussions on this item. I propose 3 minutes. Do you want to take a break and then do the 3 minutes, or as we go finish up first round, we could?
I think you have to start.
Yeah, we kind of take a break.
Oh,
right after.
that's right.
Then we can.
Let's get going.
Let's not break the law.
Okay, yep. All right, so we're going to go down this level from Vice Chair Sinensi, followed by Committee Member Noelani Hodges, followed by Committee Member Tom Cook, Chair Lee, Councilmember Paulton, Councilmember Sugimura, and myself. So, Vice Chair Sinensi.
Mahalo, Chair. Just and mahalo for that presentation to Deputy Heba and Director RC. Just following up on my CRB question, has there been any funding from the state as part of your educational efforts to combat the invasive beetle?
Thank you for the question, Vice Chair. The answer is yes, if you count the staff from Hawaii Department of Agriculture and UH, various staff from the different CRB and invasive programs, but no dollars per se contributed to the department to take on this effort, but we do appreciate the collaboration from the state of Hawaii.
Okay, thank you for that, Director. And then you did mention some reductions in your opening statement. Did you cover those reductions to your budget?
Yes, we did, in the various slides.
Oh, okay. And then for your grants division, has the department been able to secure any outside additional funding?
So the only funding that we were able to secure was the funding from the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service. It was close to $500,000 for covering the Ag Conservation Liaison position that we're going to hire as if the funding gets released from federal government.
Okay. That was the only, okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair Sinensi. Let's move on to Committee Member Hodges.
Thank you, Chair. Can I ask, though, do you mind if we take our break now?
Everybody's nodding their head yes? Okay.
Thank you.
I was kind of hinting because I got to do a bio break, but
I know,
okay, sure.
That's why, thank you.
It's now 10:42. How about 10 minutes, members? 10 minutes? Okay. It's 10:42. The committee of 2/20/25 is on recess till 10:52. 10:52. You heard it here first, folks. Okay, will the ADEPT committee come back from a short recess? The time is 10:57. It's 2/20/2025. Hope we're all refreshed and ready to go. I think we're on Councilmember Hodges. Were you done with your questions?
No, I didn't have an opportunity.
Okay,
just
go
yet.
for it.
Thank you so much, Chair. Thank you so much for your presentation, and thanks for being with us today. I'm really interested in some biosecurity and how we can best protect our shores. I really do appreciate Molokai's grassroots version of the way they're doing it. I don't know if we can do the same, but I'm wondering if you have any suggestions or anything in our budget that help kind of shore up our biosecurity. I know right now we're dealing with the coconut rhinoceros beetle, and a few months ago when I went to the Cattlemen's Ranch Association meeting on the Big Island, their issue is with spittle bugs, which I'm sure you guys are familiar, but it's extremely devastating. And it would be devastating for us too if we were to get it. So what do you think we can do to shore up some biosecurity, and how can we prevent ourselves from getting the spittle bug like Big Island?
Director, Deputy Director, sure.
Yeah, I guess I can start off by saying, we heavily relied on the state and all the different supporting agencies that already do that line of work. But one way that we are able to support in the immediate time is in the education and outreach. Like for me and for us, the department is always like, what does the outreach look like? What does our community know about it? And then where are the gaps? So I think as far as biosecurity, that's kind of where we are at the moment. And then hopefully develop more capacity to increase more, not just awareness, but actually solutions. So yeah, I was very, I wouldn't say fortunate, but just working in also the recovery, that was our heavy emphasis, is what is our biosecurity measures, understanding that Lahaina and Kula were in such fragile states. So we worked with every single agency that does anything that could help mediate. And we got some ideas for this potential fiscal year, and as we move on in developing programs that can continue to assist the strongholds of our community that are already doing the work. So mahalo for the question.
Thank you so much. If I still have a little bit of time, I'm wondering if you can tell me what your outreach is going to look like, and how can we help with some of that?
Yeah, I guess I can just start with, we're working with interns to help develop a dashboard, our ag resource directory.
Cool.
So the education outreach is there. It's all available on our website. And of course, putting together potentially another ag resource fair to understand all the different agencies that are doing work within our community that impacts environment and agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
That's really heavy on us. And this, we're looking at potentially putting in a position in the next fiscal budget on a public information officer or somebody that can do education and develop programs that are in alignment with what the community's needs are and priorities.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilmember Cook?
Thank you, Chair. So thank you both.
Agencies that are skilled in that area of work, and bringing them together to determine and develop strategic management plans for the critically imperiled lands devastated by fires, to mitigate future fire-related or water-related disasters on all islands, but focusing heavily on Lahaina and Kula first, and then branching out to the other islands.
In helping to mitigate these risks. So this position, we're hoping the federal freeze holds up and can allow us, this person will be working with all the different agencies, cross sectors, cross departments, from Mauka to Makai. We're talking reforestation, revegetation, all the way down to coral reef settlement, and that type of thing. It's a big ask, but it's a big need, and it's a start for us to start to implement some type of strategy as we move forward and work together with DEM, all the various departments, DPW. Mahalo.
So does the County Department of Ag work with NRCS?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Thank you. That's my time. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to Council Chair Alice Lee, followed by Councilmember Paulton. Chair Lee? We're going to skip Chair Lee because
Chair Lee, you're muted on your end.
She's not hearing us neither. We can come back to her. Let's go on to Councilmember Paulton.
Thank you. My first question is for the arborist. I thought that Public Works also had an arborist. Is it that the position description needs to be radically different than their arborist?
Yes, the arborist position that we received from Department of Planning is a position that will assist them in reviewing the trees in the parking lot as well as the parks, beaches. And we'll build in some agroforestry and agriculture-related tree work into the duties and responsibilities. So it'll be different from the Public Works, and we need to review the class and the duties to make sure it doesn't overlap with the position that we'll be rolling out so that it's specific.
Okay, do you have a SR in mind? Or
I can't remember what the SR was, but no, I think it's not 24. I think it might be SR 22, but we can get back to you on that.
Okay, and then my other question was the contract work for Enviro Services, $74,764.37 for the lot cleanup at Kula Ag Park. Was that a previous tenant left things behind, or was it another situation?
Director?
Yes. And left things behind that were unlabeled and unknown. So we were proactive in just having those removed and doing the due diligence.
Yeah, I was wondering if we can pass on that bill to the people that left that Opala behind.
Director?
I don't have an answer to that. We never thought about that. Maybe we can explore that.
Yeah, and also, I would be in support of blacklisting that person until, some sort of agreement gets made to be responsible for removing their Opala, and then also in contracts with ag park tenants, if that language can be addressed, if you vacate your lot and we gotta pay big money to clean up after you, we're gonna hold you responsible or not, I don't know, lien on their taxes or whatever,
Well, we're currently reviewing all the leases in Kula Ag Park, and we're gonna work with our corp counsel to ensure that all the documentation are in place so that each tenant has a clean record and we know which one is in compliance with their leases. We may have to amend some of the leases. There's some tenants that have obligations to other departments. We just began the work in reviewing those. So, thank you for that suggestion.
Yeah, and any contracts going forward, you gotta leave this place at least as good as it was, if not better. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to bounce back to Chair Lee, see if she has any questions. Chair Lee, can you hear us? Go ahead. Oh, you're muted we can't hear you.
Chair Lee, I apologize. You might have to adjust your microphone settings. If you go to the top right of your screen.
Yeah, we still can't hear you, Chair Lee. Can you hear us with a thumbs up? Sounds like okay, you can hear us. Maybe somebody in your office can help and we can come back to you. You want to, I think I see you. Good, push the button again, whatever you did. Right, I saw that little mute button toggle. Yeah, okay.
Call Bruce, Eric.
You gotta use, okay, we'll come back to you, Chair Lee, all right? Let's move on to Council Vice Chair Sugimura.
Thank you. So I just met with them yesterday. I had this very productive meeting. I kind of want them to share some of the things that they're doing. So for the Kula Ag Park, you have put in a grant fund through Strategies 360. So can you tell us the amount and what it's for, and it's for the expansion. So UMAP is the acronym that they will use.
Director?
Yes, thank you for the question. So we shared with Councilmember Sugimura that we are requesting a congressional earmark of $14.5 million with the assistance of Strategies 360, which is contracted by Department of Management. And the funding is to cover the development of the Upper Maui Ag Park. And within the development, the itemized items are infrastructure improvements that include water, electricity, roads, and the development of 28 lots. The funding doesn't include the cost of the new reservoir, which we are also needing funding for, but we do have approximately 18 million left in the monies that we acquired since fiscal year 2019 or 2020. And those different buckets of funding came from the general fund, County of Maui, the governmental bond from County of Maui. We're still awaiting the 10 million match from the State Department, State of Hawaii. And we also had an earlier acquisition of funding from the state. I think it was $3.5 million. And so we provided a breakdown of the expenses to Councilmember Sugimura, and we had the help of Dan Shupak in the management office, who has all the background on the funding.
Chair, I wonder if you could send a letter and ask them for that, because I think that would be just general good information.
Staff, can you follow up on that?
Yeah,
Okay,
so
they're
it's
nodding their heads, yes.
Kula Ag Park funding.
Very important.
Distribution, right? Their total picture.
Okay.
The other thing that actually, Member Paulton kind of said the same thing, is that we should, because I know you said you're looking at all the leases with the Corp Council, can you put in there, if it's not in there, that when the tenant leaves, they need to clean up, and if not, they would be responsible for the clean up expenses that we have had to incur. And it must be not in the lease for us to get into this situation, so it would be from current leases forward. Do you have any comments?
So as we all know, the leases began from 1985, which is over 40 years ago. And after through every administration, there's there's changes, and that's why the tenants' lease their folders all look different.
So you're reviewing it, though?
Yeah, we're reviewing it.
So can you add in that?
We can get the counsel from Nahulu, our corporation counsel, and rely on him to guide us forward.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's go back to Chair Lee, if you can see if we can hear you. Nope. Okay, we're going to skip on Chair Lee. I'll go to my question then. Okay. Thank you for that. So I'm curious. We heard that you got three times as much applications this year, and we will see an increase in budget requests for grants. So are you folks planning to be prepared for that much demand in your upcoming budget?
We're working together with Director Leslie on looking at and working with Josiah folks on see what is realistic. We did ask for a potential increase in the grants budget. However, that only works if we have the staffing to administer it. So that's the struggle, is like, we can have all the funding, but not enough people to help administer their grant. It's gonna do a disservice to our community. So we're, just taking in all opinions from
How many empty positions do you have right now?
Right now, we just lost our grants coordinator on January 1st and a grants manager. So just currently one staff that is administering 23, 24, and the current 25 applicants. And then I'm assisting our grants manager in the interim. So we have one vacant position. We already hired our grants coordinator that will start in April. So it's going to be a tremendous help in our programs.
Last year, some of your budget got cut. How about any feedback? Did it affect any of our farmers?
Of course, yeah, we have a lot of our farmers that do depend on these funding, and we tried to advocate to increase at the time, and we got $1 million back. I think we lost $2 million, but I think currently we're just gathering all the statistics and all the impacts and effects, and then hopefully come up together with some kind of summary for you folks.
All right, thank you so much. So, members, we all had a round to answer questions. We have a letter.
Beg your pardon, Chair.
Pardon me?
We believe that Chair Lee's
Chair Lee's
situation is
ready?
resolved.
Okay, Chair Lee, if you can hear us and unmute yourself. Oh, can't hear you.
Can't hear.
I'm sorry.
So Eric is with her, I think.
Yeah? Oh, there's Eric.
I think she said she wanted to give me her
Oh,
opportunity.
is it? I think Councilmember Paulton will take your time if you want to, if you know she's going to be. But maybe let's see if Eric can solve this, but doesn't. Oh, okay. Now she's gone. So why don't, did you want to take about a minute? Because we're going to defer this, and it's 11:15, so I'm going to try to kind of push this forward. But go ahead, Councilmember Paul.
So the only county ag park I know of is in Kula, but the county owns ag lands around the county, like West Maui, Mount Market, 13.5, Laniapoko by the bypass. And I think that lands is under the jurisdiction of Parks and Recreation, but they don't annex it well, and it's zoned ag. I was wondering your thoughts about taking on county-owned ag lands, because look how much people want to farm.
Director?
Thank you for the question, Councilmember Paulton. We spend a lot of time working on Kula Ag Park and UMAP. We do understand there's a lot of county ag lands, and in the future we do want to look at developing more agriculture parks for the greater Maui, so there's access in those local communities. It's gonna be a long process, but if we're still in place, we do have the desire to look into that.
Do you have inventory of all county-owned lands?
Yeah, so great question. We don't have any county ag lands, right? It's just state ag lands, but besides our UMAP, the Upcountry Maui Ag Park. However, in the last several months, in the recovery work, we're looking at part of our remediation strategies to remediate soil and just to increase our awareness on CRB was to identify publicly owned lands in the county, which departments. It was really a challenge to find, but we already developed an inventory on which departments are overseeing the jurisdiction of each department. And the start was to identify spaces where we could plant more coconut trees as our mitigation process. Yeah. So we are still developing that inventory, and hopefully they're getting kind of assistance. If you guys know anything, how we can kind of expedite that, we'll be happy to hear from you.
Thank you.
Wow.
Okay. Oh, look, we got Alice Lee coming into the call. Maybe we try again. I think she had to restart. Chair Lee, can you hear us?
Yes.
Great.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. The floor is yours.
Okay. I just had a question. I hope nobody asked it before. To RC. RC, do you have any vacancies?
Thank you for the question, Chair Lee. We have one vacancy that we are trying to fill. It's a grant management position, grant management specialist 3. The second position, we need funding. Waiting for federal to release the funding.
Okay. I heard that you were pretty successful in filling your vacancies as a brand new department, and I was wondering if you had any particular recommendations for the other departments. You know that we have like 600 vacancies throughout the county. So how you were able to start up so quickly is amazing. You have any secrets you want to share with us?
Director?
Thank you for the compliment and thank you for the question. So coming into the department, I already had a little bit of governmental experience, understanding the organizational structure. What I needed to polish up on is the definition between a class and a position description. So I worked really closely with our assigned DPS person and understand what those were, as well as our secretary. And with the help of Kahea, she was able to clarify those things more easily. And we worked together hand in hand to develop the position descriptions using our expertise in agriculture to define the duties that we expected of the position. And Kahea helped us to determine like how to write out the position description for DPS to start to
Okay, so
look at it.
RC, I can appreciate you being able to comprehend and execute, and but apparently you must have started your positions at a certain level that you were able to find people who are willing to come to the county and work. I think, oftentimes people start at a lower level and then that doesn't attract people. And if you start at a higher level, then you start to attract more people. Is that what happened to you?
Director?
Yeah, what I had understood was more dollars attract more qualified people. We have certain expectations because we had such a steep incline in our having to roll out the department. It was a steep learning curve, so we needed people that had that amount of expertise. That's why we started it at high SRs to help us, because we needed people that were highly competent to carry out the kind of work that we needed to build the foundation of the organization.
Thank you. That's very helpful, and good luck to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Members, it's 11:20. I want to move on, but one last question before we go. How's the MEO grants? Are they the micro grants is still being distributed by MEO? Is that?
Yeah, it was competitive.
Okay.
And then so MEO got the award, and they're currently developing and taking in applications at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. So members, I'm going to try to move on. And
Chair?
Go ahead. We have Councilman Rollins Freeman is jumping on. Go ahead.
Mahalo, Chair. Just a quick follow-up on that, and mahalo for asking. Aloha, Director, Deputy Director. Mahalo for your presentations and for entertaining all of our questions. My question to follow up on Chair Johnson's question about the microgrants is the intention for the department to handle it internally and the distribution of it internally next year, or is it going to be competitive out to an organization like MEO to manage it again?
Deputy Director?
Yeah, Chair. Mahalo for the question. I think for now, just because of capacity reasons, I think we're going to contract it out again with a heavy emphasis on looking at, it'll be competitive. Let's just say that next year. We would have to identify and who would want to take this on and be in alignment with the program. So we're excited to see what that looks like.
Mahalo. So this program was started during COVID, and it was to increase, food security, etc. MEO, did a great job. But after a number, 3 years, 4 years, the last report we received, there were duplicates. And one of the provisions is that if a farming business, ag business received the grant in a previous year, that the priority would be given to organizations or businesses, farmers that did not receive the grant. And I've heard from a number of Molokai farmers that applied and did not receive the grant. And then I saw multiple Molokai farmers who did receive the grant maximum amount, $25,000, that received $25,000 again. And so the intention was to prevent that from happening, to distribute, the grants so that it benefits, a good part of the community and not just, a small number. And so, what is the department doing to ensure that it is being dispersed, to other farmers so that other farmers can also benefit from this grant program? Can we get a report for this last year when it's done?
Deputy Director?
Yeah, mahalo for that. I mean, I hear you and I feel you, and I totally understand it, being a farmer myself before coming joining the colony of Maui, and definitely want to stop the duplication and just kind of increase the services and diversify the services throughout our community evenly. I do have some numbers if you want me to share that from fiscal 24. 295 applicants, 119 awarded, 88 women-owned and 39 Native Hawaiian farms, 111 of them in food producing, 8 ranches under 40 acres, 91 on Maui, 26 on Molokai, and 2 on Lanai. However, I don't have the numbers of duplicated or people who got the grants multiple times. We'd have to take that up with MEO, and we can ask that. But duly noted, we take your question very seriously, and we'll make adjustments to our program. We're hoping with this, our grants coordinator that's going to be jumping on with us in April, a heavy emphasis will be on helping to diversify and develop a more comprehensive program that is in alignment with our community's initiatives and all the things. So appreciate your question. Mahalo.
Of course. And I will send you the report that I put together that show the duplicates so that you can work off of that to compare for this fiscal year. Also, I hope the department will also put measures in place to show, the effectiveness and the benefit and value of the microgrant so that we can continue to support it and justify the funding for our taxpayers. Mahalo.
Okay, thank you, Department of Ag. You guys have been great dealing with our questions, and I appreciate you. So, members, without objections, the chair will defer this item. Okay, thank you so much, Department. Operational and budgetary review of watershed protection grants administered by the Department of Water Supply. Okay, so in accordance with Rule 7B of the Rules of the Council, the committee will receive a presentation and discuss matters related to an operational and budgetary review of the Department of Water Supply's watershed grants. No legislative action will be taken today. Members, water is life, and these watershed grants help to ensure our water sources are clean, healthy, and sustainable. Again, with the budget session coming soon, I want to hear about the FY 2025 operations and budget and learn about any needs for the upcoming FY 26. Ms. Blumenstein and Mr. Robles are on the call. Let's see if they can turn their cameras on and join us. Oh, okay, there she is. Ms. Blumenstein, are you ready to present? The floor is yours.
Oh, aloha, Chair. Council members, thank you for having us. We have Robert Robles of my staff. I think he's on. He had some little technical issues before, but he will do the presentation. So I just want to mahalo you for supporting our watershed protection and restoration program. And just a reminder, this is funded solely with Water Department operational funds. I see Robert.
Looks like he just joined the call.
Lobby here.
Right.
Yeah, he has some issues having the mic work there. So
it seems to be an ongoing theme.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if he can get on to do the presentation, and I was just going to be available for questions.
Okay.
Hello. I'm here.
Okay.
I have some feedback issues here.
A little bit of feedback.
Okay. Okay. Hope you can hear me now. I'm sorry.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Please. Okay. Well, Thank you, Chair and council members, for having me here today. I have a presentation. I'm going to share it here. I could get, hopefully this works. 1 second, please. So, here we go.
Okay, looks like we can see it.
Okay, great. Again, I'm Robert Dorolis, planner with Water Resources and Planning and Grants Manager for a Watershed Protection Grants Program. Let me just share what's going on here for fiscal year 2025. So we go through a selection process every year, as you know, an RFP, public RFP, grants analysis. We have a committee evaluate all the applications every year. We have proposal requirements, and all the grantees or applicants have to submit now via Applifund, which is online. And then we establish an organization. We have to make sure they qualify for the grant every year. They have to have an established organization and a watershed management plan. So our general considerations are detailed proposals, coordinating, stakeholder coordination, public benefits, and organizational administrative accountability to reach these invasive species protection and restoration goals. All of our grantees are ongoing. They've been with us for 10 years or plus. They're all qualified, but we always try to make sure that the proposals are consistent with our goals, our watershed protection goals. And for FY24 and 25, actually, we started a wildland urban interface mitigation strategy to under these increasing drought conditions and destructive wildfire threats. So as you know, watershed protection is really essential, as a lot of people have mentioned this morning. Really, it's the forested watersheds are needed for groundwater recharge and DWS water supplies. Feral ungulates are causing erosion and spreading invasive species across the mountains, like strawberry guava and pigs. Invasives are out competing native plants in the watersheds in many places. Also, protecting critical watersheds with fencing perimeters is essential to keep up ungulates in really pristine or important watershed areas. Mostly our grants are above 3,000 feet and above, so upper watershed. And and then this year again, we're trying to create a defensible space around some of our watershed projects in the wildland urban interface. So our watershed protection grantees for FY25: East Maui Watershed Partnership, Waikamoe Source Protection and Watershed Preserve Management with TNC, Onakauai and Waihekuli Source Protection Kapunekea with TNC, East Molokai Watershed Partnership with TNC, Mauna Kahalawai Watershed Partnership, West Maui Mountains, Hawaii Forest Restoration Project, Maconia Invasive Species Containment Project with MISC, or Maui Invasive Species Committee, developing wilt-resistant acacia koa for Maui Watershed Restoration with HARC, and developing disease-resistant ohia for Maui Watershed Protection on Maui. That's the ohia with HARC. We do have one grantee that we've had for quite a long time that wasn't able to take on their third and last year of multi-year grant program. That's PKW. They're going through a pending management change, but we're hoping to get them in by FY26. They're still working up there, but they just weren't able to transfer the responsibilities with to their new nonprofit. So just to give you an idea where our projects are located, on the top left, you'll see the West Maui Mountains, Mauna Kahalawai Watershed Partnership, and then right next to that on the right is a Pu'ukakui Watershed Partnership. It's actually the purple area in the West Maui Mountains there. And then on the bottom is Kapunekea, that actually works in West Maui Mountains. And Mauna Kahalawai actually does a lot of work with TNC in that area. And then top right, you'll see East Maui Watershed Partnership lands. So they could be working anywhere in these areas, obviously. And then the top right, Waikamoe TNC, is also within, in that red zone, within the East Maui Watershed Partnership Program, and East Maui Watershed Protection or Partnership actually does some work with TNC as well in these lands. Bottom center, you'll see Molokai Watershed Partnership. There's actually a north and south area that they work in, and then the HARC, KOA, and Ohia projects on the bottom right. So every year we get reports quarterly. We for consistency and substantive updates, we try to correlate expenditures to specific deliverables and grant and to their each individual grant agreement. We address project issues to ensure grant program sustainability, and we try to make sure that everything submitted through Amplify, the online system we piloted about 2 years ago, are accurate and timely. And then we also check for issues that may prevent tasks from being accomplished. So a lot of times there's some issues with maybe staffing, turnover, or weather, or or maybe vehicles break down. We try to help with that along the way. So the main deliverables we are looking for and to make sure that are being completed on ungulate control, weed control, invasive plant control, revegetation and planting, source monitoring and research, and community outreach. So HARC and MISC, they only do 2, 3, 5, and 6, which is the weed control, invasive plant control, resources monitoring and research, and community outreach. So FY 2025 Watershed Protection Grants Program Awards, we have East Maui Watershed Partnership. I'm sorry, there's been some issues trying to transfer to PDF, and it excludes some. But anyway, $550,000 was awarded for East Maui Watershed Partnership, and Waikamoe TNC, $330,661. Hawaii Forest Restoration Partnership, $144,258. Monica Halavai, $898,000. And Kapunakea TNC, $118,775. East Molokai Watershed Partnership, about $250,000. It's been pretty consistent over the years. Maui Invasive Species Committee, $285,000. HARC, KOA is about $55,500. And HARC Ohia, $37,000. And of course, Pu'ukakui at the bottom here, the award was not accepted, but we would have appropriated $385,902 if they had finished their last year, FY25. So our total would have been $355,096 and minus the $385. So the grant status for FY25. So we just started our grants. We changed our grants program to start every year on January 1st, ending December 31st. So to make things more consistent. So at this point, FY25, we're just benchmarking and processing first quarter reports, which is due March, at the end of March. And then actually January, February, March, April, because we have to consider their reconciliation of 30 days. Same thing for Waikamoe TNC. So all of them are pretty much the same here, except for PKW, which again did not accept the grant for 25. So I just wanted to share some before and after pictures because we started asking partners to give us a better picture of what's going on out there. We don't always get a chance to go out in the field because these are such remote areas, and it's hard for us to see everything that's going on. But you can see here before August 2023 fire up there in Mauna Halavai, how green and lush it was, and then after the fire, it's just everything got just wiped out. And then before invasive plant control in West Maui Mountains, it's Myconia there, and after. So they do great work up there. It was hard work. And then the bottom, before and after pictures in Waikamoe, some invasive control, plant control. and before and after fence repair, above and then the bottom. These are the kind of things they do, but for miles and miles and acres, it's really hard work, and we appreciate their hard work. And then here on the far right, you can see East Molokai Watershed Partnership before and after over the years. Actually, time lapse from 2009 all the way to about 2020 to 24, which is a dramatic change. So progress for entering FY25. So basically, again, we're just shifting over to all the reporting coming, starting performance timeline starting in January to December 31st. So we're still waiting for FY24 actually to be submitted, because they were due December 31st, and they actually have 90 days. So every last report, fourth quarter report, they have 90 days versus just a 1 month for the first 3 quarters. So that would be March. So final reports for FY24 are due March 2025. And then with performance periods ending in 2025, final reports due March 2026 for 25. Hope that's clear. FY25 are due at the end of April 2025. So for this year, we're waiting for the first quarter reports, April 2025, after 1 month of account reconciliation. And then I already mentioned PKW. Oh, wait, let me go back here. Mauna Kea. They're one of the first projects that started actually investigating work in the wildland urban interface. For a long time, they've been doing a lot of consulting with a lot of other major stakeholders to try to figure out how to mitigate fire risk. But this time, with their proposal for FY25, they're hoping to actually get their hands dirty and clear and get rid of some ladder fuels in these wildland urban interface areas, and kind of refine their scope of work. PKW is transitioning to a new nonprofit organization and bypassed their 3rd year, a multi-year grant for 25. But I'm in constant communication with them, and they should be back in FY26. So also some grantees have, I've been talking with them, and they've expressed some the benefits of having endowments. And so to have more sustainability in their projects, instead of just relying just on the county or state, they could have some endowments for real true sustainability in case funding is not available. Waikamoi TNC, interesting. They started this biochar project. I know somebody was mentioning biochar, and they're actually piloting a project with biochar with native invasive trees like pine to create useful products for carbon sequestration, amending soil, and post-fire remediation. They want to be able to give that to fire-stricken areas for soil remediation. So opportunities for improving our grant program. As always, we are always trying to encourage our grantees to standardize data collection methods for consistency. I know that's not always easy because each project is unique, and we have to consider how they collect their data. But we're always working with them to on that methodology. Expand before and after photos of project areas to increase efficacy measurements. So it'd be easier for us to be able to see, hey, this is really having an effect up in the mountains, and it's not just numbers and calculations. Start new multi-year efficacy grant study to investigate project progress. So we're hoping to maybe start some kind of study, another grant maybe to investigate the progress. DWS, we're not watershed scientists, but it would be nice to see the effects of our years of funding going into certain deliverables for invasive control. And then maybe create a watershed protection grants committee. We've been discussing with grantees about maybe having a committee so they could help each other out more clearly for certain deliverables. They do that now, but we're hoping for them to have a bigger involvement with each other to share information and knowledge. Create a nationwide internship program. I know I may have said this over the years, there's a lot of turnover. It's hard work out in the field, and you get a lot of burnout. And it's not that they don't have passion for it, but it's just really hard work. It'd be nice to have some kind of internship program to have a constant, resources of staff. If not staff, interns could maybe transition into a position in these programs if they want to do that. And thank you. That's the report that I have for. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you, Mr. De Robles. That's a very in-depth presentation. Appreciate that. If you don't mind, stop sharing. So members,
sure.
I know we're getting close to lunch and we have another one, so I want to try to see if we can push forward a little faster. Any clarifying questions? I don't see any hands raised for clarifying, and we'll just go right into public testimony. Just a reminder, if you already testified on this item, you cannot testify twice. But staff, do we have any testifiers for this? Any testifiers on this item?
Yes, Chair. Lisa Stroker is signed up to testify on this item.
Okay.
Hello again, me again. Thank you. I am here on behalf of Maui Invasive Species Committee, where I'm serving as the acting manager temporarily. I wanted to acknowledge the very functional and positive relationship we have with DWS. They allow us to do, and we've had a long-standing relationship, but they are our primary source of funding for addressing myconia in East Maui. And as well as we are looking at a lot of our invasive plant work relies on DWS funding. For watershed protection, and we rely on partnerships as well. A lot of the other watershed partnerships that do receive funding from DWS, we leverage and work together with them. So just yesterday, we were on a meeting with some of the watershed partnerships to look at addressing invasive pampas grass within a burn area to prevent it from reestablishing. So, yeah, again,
okay, thank you. Members, do we have any clarifying questions? We do have one from Councilmember Tom Cook.
Thank you. Are we making, with myconia, is it working towards eradication, which is just basically making sure that it's not getting worse? Just sort of a measurement. It's an overwhelming task.
It's an overwhelming.
What would be your summation of the status?
Thank you. Great question. Early on, when we started working on myconia, it was recognized, and this was in the early 2000s, that eradication was not likely to happen. The spread is just too far. So our goal has been to slow the spread and reduce the impacts while they're exploring an effective biological control. So that's a well-researched natural enemy from where myconia is native, and that can reduce the impacts. So there's some promising things on the horizon, and so we're hoping that those will come to fruition. We have been able to keep myconia from reaching West Maui and reaching the West Maui watershed. So initially, when we started work on it, there were small populations in Iao Valley, and those are eradicated. We hold the line and prevent it from spreading further. So most of our work is focused to reduce vectoring and also keep it from roughly way low further east. So
thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Members, any other clarifying questions? We do have one from Councilmember Sugimura.
Are you the new manager? You said acting manager for MISC?
We are currently recruiting for the new manager. So I'm just wearing that hat sometimes.
Okay, so former manager retired?
No, well, so Taya Penniman has been our acting manager while we were searching for a new manager. So currently today I took over that responsibility for the last few months. She's focusing on special projects, and she is at the state legislature today.
Thank you.
Okay, any other clarifying questions? I don't see any. Thank you so much for your testimony.
Thank you.
Staff, will you call the next testifier, please?
Chair, that is currently all the individuals signed up to testify. Would you like to do a last call?
Last call for anyone wishing to testify on this item? Seeing any hands in the... I don't see any. So members, any objections to... members, seeing there are no more individuals wishing to testify, are there any objections to closing oral testimony for this item? Okay, now close public testimony for this item. Let's get into deliberations. Operational budget review of water protection grants administered by the Department of Water Supply. I propose 3 minutes per council member for each round of discussion, and we'll move on with Vice Chair Shane Snency, followed by Council Member Hodgins.
Well, the Chair, and I didn't have any questions specifically, but I did hear Mr. DeRoble say that most of the water protection areas are above 3,000 feet. I did see some that went all the way to the shoreline, and I did want to make the statement that we're seeing a lot of invasive species down below the intakes. And so those are some of the issues that we're seeing currently in East Maui. So hopefully we can address more of those watershed areas well below the diversions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on to Committee Member Hodges, followed by Councilmember Tom Cook.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for this presentation. I really have no questions. They were very thorough, and I appreciate their hard work. I really like this presentation, and you guys have received high marks, so thank you so much for your guys' hard work as well.
So that's a sign of a good presentation when all our questions are answered. Let's move on to Councilmember Tom Cook, followed by Chair Lee.
Thank you, Chair. My question would be, in general, from the years that have been working on this, I've heard that the rainfall we're experiencing a drought and less rain. Is that, what impact is this having on that?
Ms. Blumenstein or Mr. Robles?
Thank you, Chair. I can take a first crack and I'll turn it over to Rob. Yes, unfortunately, not through our watershed partners, but through other sources that we work with, we see rainfall data is a little bit alarming. Pukekohe is no longer the wettest place on earth. There's still, hope, but also the decreased rainfall is a statistic, but what we also see is the more intense rainfall when it happens that causes other challenges, right? So our partners really have to adjust and adapt their practices to tackle, the changing rainfall patterns. Robert, do you want to add something?
Sure. The question, well, Ava mentioned that there is more drastic rainfall happening suddenly, and so long-term maintenance of these projects quite critical, especially as they expand. So that's something that we've always been trying to consider because of this the climate change issues. So infrastructure has been problematic to maintain, miles and miles and miles of fencing, for example. Just want to add that there.
That's it, Chair. Thank you for your efforts.
Thank you. Council Chair Alice Lee, followed by Councilmember Paulton.
Yeah, thank you. So, Mr. DeRoble, can you say, from your presentation, when you went down the list of grantees, the last one didn't use, was it $300,000 plus? Is that correct?
Thank you for the question. Committee, I'm sorry. Chair, I'm sorry. Yes.
Yes, okay. Did you reopen? Okay, since you had excess funds to grant out, did you have a second round for others?
Well, our RFP goes out once a year. We don't, because the performance period starts in December, and we have never had it open after the initial offering goes out. So, maybe that's something we can explore, but this kind of work is highly specialized, and we don't get many projects coming in because of the specialization. Okay.
Well, you may want to consider a second round, especially to those who asked for more, and you didn't have the ability to give them the full amount that they requested. So I'm talking about, instead of opening it entirely out to the general public, reopening it to the ones that you had already applied. So that's just a thought. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate all the work you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Lee. Okay, Councilmember Paulton, followed by Councilmember Sugimura.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. DeRobos. Hope your shower project is going well. I was wondering about Pu'ukukui. I know that they separated from, I think, Maui Land and Pine and the Living Pono project, and now they are called Aloha Pu'ukukui. Was it not a possibility to transfer the monies from Pu'ukukui, knowing that it's the same workers that probably submitted the original grant, to Aloha Pu'ukukui?
That's a good question. It was possible, and we did have communications with them. We tried to do an ovation, but I don't know what's going on with their internal discussions. We've been waiting for them to hopefully submit something, whether it's LPP or Aloha Pu'ukukui. We haven't heard back about an updated scope of work, so we can do that. But if at this point it may not be an ovation, it may just be a new a grant in FY25, and that's what they said. If they're able to get FY25 on time, fine. If not, FY26 is okay as well. But we are still open to giving them a grant. It's just that we would probably prorate it because it's based on a full year project. So it wouldn't be the full amount.
Okay, my other question was Mauna Kahalavai Watershed Partnership that's working on the WUI. Do you know if they're working in concert with the HWMO group, the Hawaii Wildfire Management Organization?
Yes, they are working with a number of stakeholders. They always have. They served as to work with other stakeholders in managing how to manage the watersheds. But I believe they are, yes.
And how far down would that go? Because you said most of the watershed grants are in the 3,000-foot elevation, but the WUI is right up to where people live, and we've seen how destructive that was the year before last. So how far down, and is there can they go right up to the urban interface?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually, a good question. Since we just started this, our grantees have been, including, Mauna Kahalavai, they've been trying to figure this out because it's such a big and broad ask for the wildland urban interface. But we're going to probably define that better in FY25 and 26, where the work is going to end up being, in the areas.
Ms. Bloom
Also,
seems to want to
if
respond.
you were gonna work with the fire department, because when we updated the fire code, I believe a part of it that we left out was the WUI because of enforcement. But if we can have a partnership with the Mauna Kahalavai Watershed Partnership to do the enforcement for the fire code, maybe we can add that stuff back in, because that's the biggest concern of my community.
Yeah. And let me just see.
Yeah, it's a really good question.
Ms. Blumenstein, did you want to respond? I saw your hand up for this.
Yeah, thanks. I just want to add that, that's a really good question. And, like Robert said, this is something we just fairly recently expanded the area from more the traditional Mauka watersheds, because, for us, it has to be it's water rate funded project. It has to have some nexus to groundwater recharge and stream recharge. So yes, we are, now in the territory of the WUI, and the lower elevation, so to say, it has to have a nexus to our water systems and services. So it's not, it takes so many players to address the whole Maka to Makai, and the urban area. But so we're part of it, but we're not covering the whole spectrum of it. There has to be that nexus.
Yeah, thank you for that.
And
let's move. Okay, I'm going to move on to Councilmember Sugimura now.
Yep. This is well done as usual, and thank you very much for doing these grants. So previously we had Sarah Tekula, who was talking about their biochar project and what they're doing, and they've done a lot of great work with the Kula Watershed Alliance. So are you working with them too?
I'm sorry, is the question to, yeah. We're not working directly with them. Our grantees are, and we're just supporting any which way we can.
Okay, great, because their work is fantastic what they've done, and because of the wildfire. And it sounds like when you're talking about the urban interface, that's exactly what's happening. So it's not quite part of your program yet, or are you getting there, or are you?
It is getting there. This is a pilot that they're doing. We just thought it was just a great timing for them to do this, and to also kind of, one of the issues, I just want to bring this up really quick, invasive control, to remove some of these invasives and try to do something with it has been an issue as well. So by taking some of the invasives and making it useful for something like biochar, I think it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's what we're seeing happen. So are you planning on possibly giving the Kula Watershed Alliance its own funding source to continue and get rid of all our wattle trees and everything that's growing in that gulches that burnt?
Let me address that. So, I think I've actually suggested to Sarah to reach out because, not the biochar project specifically, but the Kula Community Watershed Alliance and the restoration area. It has the nexus both to our sources. It's an area, where recharge is important and has disturbing, trends in changes to groundwater recharge. So there is a fit for, we didn't get new proposals from any, like Rob said, it's the same players, that are in the established areas, but we are looking for these kind of new opportunities. So we encourage entities, nonprofits that are eligible, like the Kula Community Watershed Alliance, to apply.
Oh, great. So they would now be eligible, and we will send Sarah Tequila to your doors. Correct? Thank you.
Great. All right.
Oh, good.
That's good news. Let's move on to Councilmember Rollins Fernandez. She's here to join us for these questions.
Mahalo, Chair. Aloha, Ms. Blumenstein and Mr. Robles. I have a question about your DWS's policy on how much is allocated toward grants. Is it 3% of water rate revenue?
No, it's up to 4% of operational revenue.
Operational revenue. Okay. And the reason I'm asking is I know I've been talking about this for years now, but I was thinking perhaps one of the formulas that could be used is something similar to the formula that that you folks use. So 4% to the tier 3 of non-owner occupied, a lot of which are on private systems. So so if it was 3%, it would be 31 million is the real property tax revenue of tier 3 non-owner occupied classification, and 3% would be 930,000. And then, supplementing the work, especially since you're looking at expanding into the WUI, to do that work so that there's more funding available for the 11-ish orgs and inviting other orgs that are interested in doing work in the WUI. Is the orgs that, or are the orgs that are doing work in the watershed the same ones that are interested in doing work in the WUI, or are there others?
Ms. Blumenstein?
That's a good.
Or Mr. DeRobes?
Yeah, I can start and Robert finish.
Okay,
so we have not received new grant proposals, even after I think last year we really started to distribute more or promoting, these grants are available and here's the RFP and here's the deadline. So we would kind of expect there to be a growing time where trying to figure out, this, like Robert said, this pretty specialized work, but it is, as long as there's a nonprofit, you have that nexus to the area of, not the private water systems, but the public water systems. I would expect that we would get new proposals from new grantees in the future.
Would you be open to that supplemental from real property tax, so that everyone's contributing to protection of watershed, our watersheds and the WUI?
So I'm going to say just a very reluctant yes, because in the past we had some general funds to manage a huge amount of watershed protection work that didn't really have, it was all this other myriad of ecosystem services that are really important, but it wasn't tied to freshwater supply. And we have a very small staff, and we're maxed out in what we can do. So without, something like that would have to come with some staffing. And I think, there's certainly a place where tax revenue needs to pay, to expand this to the other ecosystem services. I don't know that our little division is the right agency and section to handle all that. But we want to be part of that whole, Mauka to Makai solution and do our part. But in terms of transferring the responsibility of administering the grants to the whole of we would need some help.
Yeah.
So I also just want to add real quickly, that's a really good question. And so our discussion with grantees, for example, we try to separate the traditional scope of work, which, invasive species control, upper watersheds. It's different. They've been doing the same thing for the past 20 years or longer. And to expand into the WUI is going to be really, it's a change for their scope of work and may require more staffing to do. So it's not just, yes, let's do it. They have to have a really rigid plan to be able to actually do it. And because they only have 8 hours in a day, they can't split the staff to do work there and work here. So it's complicated, but we're working through it.
Okay.
Mahalo, Chair.
Thank you. All right, members, I want to thank them for their presentation and responding to our questions. Thank you so much for the work that you folks do. We're on kind of a tight schedule, so we had questions, and if anyone else wants to ask questions, we can always write them in. So as we, members, without any objection, I'll defer this item. And then as we thank them and say goodbye, let's see if EPS can come on down and be ready for the next one. Okay, I wanted to give them about a half hour because I can't do it in the afternoon. So can you folks do half hour? Okay. Well, I was going to try to end them at 12:30. Can we stick? Okay, we'll limit the questions as best we can and, be succinct with your words. Okay. Operational and budgetary review of the Environmental Protection and Sustainability Division of the Department of Environmental Management. In accordance with Rule 7B of the Rules of the Council, the committee will receive a presentation and discuss matters related to an operational and budgetary review of the Department of Environmental Management's Environmental Protection and Sustainability Division. No legislative action will be taken today. Members, this division has a task of guiding, leading, and implementing our county's environmental initiatives, including natural resource protection, sustainability, conservation, and restoration efforts. In response to the climate emergency and recognizing our island's unique and fragile ecosystems, the work this division does is of the utmost importance. Through their green grant and recycling program, support for this division in turn supports our community partners who are putting in the work, the boots on the ground to care for our land, water, and air. Deputy Director Schmidt and Ms. Powell, thank you for being here today, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Appreciate the opportunity to be here today. We'll start right in with our show. Next slide, please. Environmental Protection and Sustainability is one of 3 divisions under the Department of Environmental Management. And within that division is environmental programming, abandoned vehicles and metals, litter control, and recycling. Next slide. Current status as of the end of January, administration is at 100.4%. Environmental programming section, the ops portion is at 9.2%. Abandoned vehicles and metals section 38.4%, and recycling section at 90.6%. Next slide. Michelle McClendon couldn't be here today. She had an opportunity to visit Kaho'olawe, so I encouraged her to do that. So I'm going to take care of her portion. So environmental programming covers legislation, enforcement and compliance, community outreach and education, interagency coordination with the county and state on reporting and resolving other environmental violations, the Green Grants programming, and upcoming we've got the CARP, Climate Action and Resilience Plan. Next slide. The Green Grants program funds a broad range of community-led sustainability projects, including our provisions across 9 funding streams totaling $5.86 million. Projects focusing on women, youth, and traditional Native Hawaiian practices and approaches are encouraged. In FY25, there were 38 grants, and FY26 will be launching on July 1st. Next slide. And this slide shows the details on the current grants, both competitive and proviso, and I won't go into details. We'll wait for questions on that. Next slide. FY25 challenges. Staffing, as across the county, is difficult. Compensations versus cost of living, and of course the housing shortage. We continue to need to update software and database systems, and also need to continue to develop standard operating procedures to streamline tasks. Next slide. And our successes and strengths: successful implementation of enforcement of county ordinances, including the mineral sunscreen ordinance, disposable body board ordinance, Green Grants program expansion from 160,000 to 5.86 million, community cleanups. Council member Lee's office helped get the Malama Kula Green Waste Container Program going. System processes Green Grants program to calendar year to address funding delays. Next slide, please. So next fiscal year opportunities: increased collaboration as sustainable impacts, development of resilience hubs and other climate change programs, continue to improve public relations, again, continue to improve the EP&S processes, building community buy-in of environmental stewardship, and developing partnerships within the County of Maui to better achieve goals, specifically with the CARP plan and beginning implementation.
Can you bring that? Thank you.
Mr. Robles, you're not muted.
And next slide, please. And I'll introduce Tess Herman.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, my name is Tess Herman, Section Head for Abandoned Vehicles and Metals. Those are our work focus areas: environmental stewardship, litter control, vehicle recycling, bulky item recycling, and strategic advancement. Next slide. I'll go into these briefly. As a part of our environmental stewardship, we host a number of litter cleanups, either directly or via our grantees. Here's just a list of some litter cleanups that take place throughout the year all across all the islands. In terms of environmental stewardship, either through direct engagement, volunteer opportunities like litter cleanups, or just through education, public education and media, as well as the Art of Trash event. We're always reaching out to community members to discuss waste issues here in the county and how to have better solutions. Next slide. We also run a number of recycling programs. These are for bulky item recycling. So we operate the bulky items recycling events. That's for metals and other items like refrigerators and, just like I said, bulky items. We also have a community container assistance program where we'll send containers to any community organization across the island that is wanting to host their own cleanup. There's an image from one out in Kenai from last year. We also manage the electronics recycling program. We offer quite a few vehicle recycling programs, including free towing across all the islands. And we manage the abandoned vehicles program and are continuing to manage the disaster vehicle management paperwork. And anybody who calls in on that hotline for abandoned vehicles or any other vehicle recycling needs. We manage that also. Next slide. This past year, we did a lot of strategic advancement work because we're trying to do fewer litter cleanups. We're trying to just get ahead of the issues. So we've been pursuing federal grants to do dump site prevention and installation of better waste infrastructure. We also pursued some grants to do contamination reduction, to turn contaminated sites into a higher public or ecological good. And then, like I said, we're also working on ecological restoration with some other community partners. So that's where we're moving this section going forward. Thank you.
Aloha.
And like Bob said, we could talk about this during question, but this is the overview of our operations. Not the A or the C budget, just the B budget, and then inclusive of that is the grants. Thank you.
Aloha, my name is Cecile Powell. I manage the recycling section. There's 3 of us there. Our focus is developing and implementing, maintaining waste diversion management systems throughout Maui County. We do education and outreach related to waste diversion and related legislation. Oh, I'm sorry. Can you please put the next slide on? That is one. Full steam ahead there. We have an annual Earth Day program where we give every preschooler through elementary school student a zero waste kit. We are collaborating with the Office of Innovations on that this year, which is great. Our organics hauling and diversion programs, we administer and maintain regulatory compliance at the Central Maui landfill, and combined tons of about 33,000 tons per year of fats, oils, and grease, green waste, biosolids come through Central Maui that we manage that operation. Legislative enforcement of 5 ordinances, the plastic bag reduction ordinance, the polystyrene food service container ordinance, plastic foodware ban, and the liquor serving establishments mandate. The 5th one, I'm not actively enforcing right now. That's a glass vault mandate, and that is because there's not currently operational crushing glass on island, that we're looking towards moving in that direction. And when that does go into effect and become operational, then we'll enforce that glass vault mandate. Household hazardous waste program, we have a couple different ones. One is a used motor oil. We recycle about 10,000 gallons yearly. Propane tanks, about 500 tanks annually. And we also have ongoing collection events for hazardous waste on Molokai, Lanai, and Molokai, and Maui. Sorry. We have a county facilities recycling program. We maintain recycling services at 30 county facilities. We average 150 tons a year recycling there. Next slide, please. We have 7 recycling centers throughout Maui County, recycling about 1,800 tons annually. We have a recycling grants program. And this program is specific to waste diversion and waste reduction programs. We've partnered with dozens of organizations over the past 20 years for this. Recycling, let's see here, right now we currently have 18 active grants. We have 1 proviso grant, and we have 2 ADF processor grants that are funneled through a state program. We receive and administer 2 state grants, one from the Department of Health and one from the state